Yeah, so this was the distribution of last year IFT. There are 4 sections. So let's first discuss about this. The number of sections in IFT varies from 4 to 6. Okay. So last year there was 4 sections. Before that there was 6 sections. So over the years it ranges from 4 to 6. Again, right. The sectional cutoff. Generally, IFT does not mention the sectional cutoff in the paper, right? Last year, it was mentioned that there will be sectional cutoff. Otherwise, before that, it was not mentioned in the question, okay? So, what was the distribution last year and the cutoff of last year? You can see here in the table, there are one section which comprises of LR and DI combined. The total number of questions were 28 plus 19, that is 39. The same was in mock, okay? And the marks of LR is 0.75, DI is 1. This is the exact distribution of last year IFT, okay? Generally, this happens that DI and Quant questions are of 1 marks and remaining are of 0.7 marks, except GK. GK can be of 0.5 marks, can be of 0.4 marks also, right? And this is the last year cutoff. If you see, the section 1, LR and DI, the sectional cutoff was 8.9, quant is 6, EU plus RC is 7, and GK is 1.67, okay? And total was not mentioned in the admit card actually, but it is around 50. Okay, so even if sectional cutoff is there, you see that the sectional cutoff is very less. Okay, so the point is, you have, if you are weak in some section, just stick to this cutoff, and this is the ideal cutoff. GK generally लोगों का अच्छा नहीं होता है, so just make it a point that 7, 8 questions or 10 questions will be more than enough to clear the cutoff of GK in IFT. Okay, especially when there are matching questions in matchmaking questions in GK. So that gives a lot of help while doing it. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to do out of 120 minutes, you have to distribute the time in the section. There are already 6 sections, subsections to talk about. Okay. So, how much time should I devote to LR, DI, U, and so on course? Okay. So, more or less, it depends on your comfortable area. But if the cutoff is the sectional cutoff is there, so we need to distribute it originally, right? So generally what should happen is DI of LR of IFT is very calculative, except for the last year. So before that, if you examine the last year paper, the DI section was very crucial. Okay, so you can you will see the questions which are very much calculation intensive. Okay, you can see the options of like 2.44, 2.46, 2.48. So very close options are there in IFT. Surprisingly, last year there are 2 sets which are comparatively easy. So that was doable. Okay. So now the first thing, whenever there is a combined section like this is LR plus DI. Okay. So we should do more focus on LR part. Okay. Even if this marks is 0.75, but LR part is very much easy in IFT paper. Okay, but I'm not saying that you just skip DI. Okay, so out of let's say 4 sets are there, so 2 will be easy, I can say. Even if there are 4 questions in a particular set, for example, you need not to do all the 4 questions. Okay, so we'll just come to this one by one. Okay? This is a broader agenda. So according to this paper or last paper, for example, we can say that the LR part should be devoted around 20 minutes. Okay. DI should be again 20 minutes. Quant 25. English usage is 15. RC 15 to 20. GK is 10 questions, 10 marks, 10 minutes only, because Even if 28, 20, 25 questions or 30 questions are there, so 10 minutes will be more than enough to clear the cutoff of GK, because the answer is simple. If you know the answer, just click it. If do not, just go ahead. Okay. So 10 minutes would be more than enough. Now, if you are comfortable in RC, right? So you can cover it in 15 minutes, 3 RC passages. Okay, and you can devote other 5 minutes to quant section or LR section, which are you are comfortable. Okay. So if you sum up these time limits, so it will come out to around 1010 or 1115. Okay. Some of you are not able to hear. Okay, this video will be available on SIS. Okay. The first 5 minutes you should devote on the paper analysis. What section you should attempt first. Okay. There can be many arrangements. Okay. So you can do the easy question first, easy section, then moderate, then the difficult, or the other way around, right? There can be 6 arrangement of this. Okay. So that depends on person to person. No strategy is perfect actually. Okay. So you can do this first, this second, and this third also. Depends on you only. Right. So if you get the paper, right, the best part in the paper-based test like that is that you can scan through the paper easily, right? You can see where are the easy questions, where are the tough questions. Okay. So the first thing, suppose I have selected LR section first, so I need to cater that how many attempts should I do, right? And I have to look for those many easy questions in that part, right? Okay. So how many attempts should be there? I will come to this later. Let's see the mock. Okay. So let's say this is the part 1. Okay. So how to go about this part first of all? So in AR section, in the first section, which is the logical reasoning part, there are questions based on data arrangement. There are questions based on input-output, which is third and fourth question. There are questions on coding, decoding, blood relations, direction-based questions, right? Clock-based questions, calendar-based questions, puzzles, right? These are questions will be there in IIFT. So most of them, you can say out of 20 questions of LR, right? You can easily do 12 to 15 questions in actual IIFT paper, right? This mock is slightly 10%, 15% tough than actual mock last year IIFT paper. You see, okay. So what needs to be done first? Now, if you see this paper, the first 2 questions is of data arrangement, right? So I have to decide in the 5 minutes, the complete scanning should be there. Okay, like in the first 1 minute or so for this particular section, part 1, I have to select whether this question I should do or not, right? So just mark it. Okay. So for example, if I say first 2 questions, okay, so this can be done. Input output, if you are comfortable with it, then it's okay. Otherwise, you will see it in the later part. Okay. If you move to the next part, coding, decoding, we should definitely do. Direction based, we should definitely do. Data arrangement, ABC, different cities, right? So again, these questions are generally easy. I should do it. Coding, decoding, again, I should do it. Clock, I should do it. Again, data arrangement, I should do it. At this point, I'm just marking it. I'm just seeing the nature of the question, right? I'm not reading it. I'm not seeing it, what the question is like about, right? In the later case, it may happen that after reading the question, it may be difficult, so I can skip it. Okay. The first part is, we should do it or not. This could be done. This can be done, right? In the first attempt, this is again data arrangement based questions. So we'll see it again later part. This is simple series based question, we should do it. And last 2 is of philosophy. So if you are clear with the concept, these 2 should be done. Yeah. So in the first stage, in the first 1 minute, I have just selected those questions which look easy to me. Okay. Now again, if I come to the first part, this question, if I solve it, it can be done easily. You have already solved the question. Okay. So in I can say hardly 2 minutes, you can do these two questions. So this is a must attempt question, right? Now, third, fourth question, if you see, generally this question vary, difficulty of these questions vary from easy to difficult, right? This particular question is slightly difficult. Okay. So in the first part, what is the basis of these questions? You will be given an input and there are steps. Okay. So there are two things. It can be arranged in ascending order of numbers. It can be alphabetical order of words. It can be descending order also. It can be that the replacement of two parts. It can be done like this way, that first part is replaced, like let's say if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words in a particular input. So there can be simple arrangement also. Like in the first input, these two are arranged. In the second input, and this and this are arranged. In the third input, this and this are arranged. This can be done. This can be alphabetical order. This can be descending alphabetical order, numbers, and so on and so forth. These are the basic things you need to take care of this question, right? So if you say this question, why is 25 bigger than 14 but smaller than 32? So if you see the simple arrangement, then and 14 comes there, right? Then in the second input, this remains same and is and 25 comes there, right? So in the first case, इसमें कोई पैटर्न बनता नहीं दिखता है. देख, आपको लगता है कि you can do it, you can spend 1 minute or so in this part. 1 मिनट में अगर क्लियर नहीं होता है, just step it. ठीक है, ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट करना नहीं है हमको. 2 hours हमारे पास है केवल. So अगर ये क्लिक नहीं हो रहा है, just skip it. Question. We have not selected it, so we have ample number of questions to do. Okay. The idea is for LR part in this type of paper, right? Out of 20 questions, my point is I have to select how many questions? 12, 13, 12, 14. Okay. तो अगर 12, 13 मैंने सिलेक्ट कर लिए हैं तो मैं 10 क्वेश्चन को स्किप डेफिनेटली कर सकता हूँ, राइट? अगर मुझे क्लिक नहीं हो रहा है, I'll skip it. Okay. Now this question is coding decoding based question. Okay. Generally these questions are easy. वैसे भी if you see this question easily, there is a very good part in this, very good word, could mean team captain. It means अगर आपको half part clear हो गया, so you'll be able to solve this question without any problem. Okay, so it may be that the complete part I am not able to find out because captain का code मुझे कहीं ज्यादा नहीं मिलेगा, but team का definitely मिल सकता है. So this question was very easy because if you see in the first two parts, true and true is same and OTAP and OTAP is same. So definitely true के लिए code क्या हो गया OTAP, right? और वो उसको रिवर्स कर रहा है. So first true, जो first part है true phase का, वो second OTAP है. So phase is of pi and tail is of by. So one is clear. Team captain if I need to find. Okay. So team is here. So team के लिए code हो गया trek. So trek मेरा second part में होना चाहिए, which is only in B option. Okay. So that's why this question is easy. Sixth question is this very simple again. It's a simple direction based questions. The very basics of these questions you have to just thought about the general direction sense. That's it. North, south, east, west. If you are moving in this direction, your right is this, left is this. If you are moving in this direction, your right is this, left is this. Okay? Just these few basics you need to get out. Generally, these questions contains Pythagoras theorem or simple plus minus question. Okay, so this is must attempt question. Seventh, again a data damage question. I guess कोई problem नहीं होना चाहिए. but in any exam, this is a must attend question, right? एक छोटा सा 4 लाइन का क्वेश्चन दिया हुआ है, डेटा अरेंजमेंट का है, टफ नहीं होता है कभी भी, ओके? तो कभी भी ये क्वेश्चन दिखेगा तो करना ही करना है. Is that clear? 8th is again data arrangement question. Now, whenever you see, like in the first part, in the 5th question, आपको 3 inputs दिए हुए थे, 3 inputs, right? So, in these type of questions, for example, 8 is there, right? Whenever more than one hint is given, right? So there is no particular logic. Okay. So more, if I say, let's say in a particular question, table is written as dash 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 dash, and I just ask for chair. What is the code for chair? So definitely I need to cater for the logic behind the coding. Okay. But whenever 2 or 3 hints are given, so इससे easy question कोई नहीं होता है. जैसे यहाँ पे बोल रहा है mad is described as this. So you see that there are 3 alphabets in mad and there are 6 numbers. Similarly, 6 there are 4 alphabets and there are 8 numbers. So इसमें कुछ नहीं करना है लॉजिक आपको. ये M stands for 25, A stands for 40, D stands for 97. How? We don't know. We don't bother actually. Okay. So M का कोड हो गया 25, A का कोड हो गया 40, D का हो गया 97, S का हो गया 56, and so on forth. और जो आपसे पूछेगा the question EITA इधर वो भी इन्हीं अल्फाबेट से बना होगा. So K I have, I have, D I have, and A I have. So definitely I can say what is the code of EITA. So this is the best question in coding decoding. No logic, nothing, just see, observe and get your answer. Yeah? So this is again a must have questions. 9th again a block based question. This is slightly tricky. So if you know the basics, this question is not tough. Okay. The only point you need to observe, you must have done these questions in your classes, right? So the only basic here is that between 11 to 1, there is only one meeting point, that one skips here, and the rest of the question is easy. And again, coding decoding, the data arrangement. So again a must question. Okay. So ideally what I am saying is the selection, जो मैंने selection किया है, वो करने लायक questions हैं. Okay. This may happen that after when we attempt this 10 to 10th question, so maybe वो solve नहीं हो, right? We can definitely skip it. My target is 12 to 15 questions, right? 11th is again a easy question. So we can easily 1, it is +2, +2. This is again +2, +2. Now C and E में 2 का गैप आ जाता है, so definitely it has to be E only because no other options will satisfy this condition. So whatever is the logic behind it, ठीक है, ये एवरेज है, what else? मेरा लॉजिक सिंपल हुआ कि ये +2 +2 हो रहा है, यहाँ भी +2 +2 हो रहा है, तो ये +1 +1 कर रहा होगा और मेरा पैसे का ऑप्शन मिला, हल करता हूँ. 12th is slightly tricky. Okay, you will get the first 2 parts very easily. Okay. 20 and let's say 4, 5, 6 के लिए 20, 30 आपको easily मिल जाएगा कि 4 into 5, 5 into 6, right? But that is the trick in this question because in all the options 30 and 42 is same. So you have to crack the last part of it. How come 05, 08 and 63, right? So again, if you are able to click it, then that is your best chance to do this question. Otherwise, you can click. Okay. Logic आप लोगों ने पढ़ लिया होगा, तो उसको डिस्कस करने का फायदा नहीं है. 13, 14 again a data arrangement question. 8 employees, software company sitting in a chair, circle based question. Generally these questions are easy, right? So you can attempt this question. Okay. So some number based logic also there, right? Anybody has a confusion in this question, you can discuss it. Otherwise, solution is already there. Okay. 15, 16, if you say, if you read the question, there are 7 persons sitting in a row, not facing in the same direction. This is the most crucial part of this question, right? If I'm just reading the question, the first thing what comes to my mind that they can be in fact directions given as north, south, east, and west. They can be any of the 4 directions. So this question looks tough in this part. So the number of questions, number of people facing north, south, east, and west is given as 3, 2, 1, 1. So the problem with this question is, itna pata lage clear ho jana chahiye, this question is slightly tough. Okay, maybe I am able to solve this, but the time constraint which we have, only 2 hours, number of questions is 128, right? Generally, so these questions ये मुझे नहीं करना है. 3 क्वेश्चन ऑल्दो इसके अंदर हैं, बट मैं ये आइडेंटिफाई करूँ उससे पहले कि नॉर्थ साउथ में कौन बैठा है, उसके बाद ये भी वैसे चेक करूँगा कि वो राइट लेफ्ट में कौन बैठा है. नहीं करना, राइट? ओके, सो अगर मुझे इन दोनों में चॉइस भी करनी है, in the 13-14 questions or 15-16 questions, right, I should do this question. Not in the first part, in the later part. If you think that the cutoff, or I can maximize the score in this part, if this is your comfortable area, you can do this question, not this. Okay. Yes, Venkat, I am scrolling down the questions, right? The screen. Okay. Avi is asking for circular arrangement questions. If it is not mentioned that everyone is facing the center, should I assume center facing? No. Right? It should be mentioned center facing. Otherwise, you are not clear with which is right and which is left. You have seen in the questions in mock in which there was a particular question that 6 or 7 persons are sitting around the circular table, and some are facing center and some are not, right? So that can be a question also, right? Okay. So again, now if you see the next part, 16 is already there. 17, 18 questions काफी easy होते हैं, right? कुछ basics हैं. If you are not able to get the logic behind it, कि how come A, B, Y, and D, F, V, and A, L, Q are arranging. Okay. So you can do this thing that you just write down the number of each alphabet, right? Like A is first, B is 2, Y is 25, D is 4, E is 6, right, and so forth. And there is one word. If you can remember all the positions, that's very good. Otherwise, you can just remember a word, HOT. So this is 5th, 10th, 15th, 20th, and 25th position of English alphabet. So the rest of the alphabets you can find easily. Okay. So generally क्वेश्चन बहुत इजी होते हैं. इसमें सिंपल लॉजिक चल रहा होता है कि +1 +2 +3 +4 हुआ, या फिर इंक्रीजिंग ऑर्डर और डिक्रीजिंग ऑर्डर -1 +1 -1 +1 चल रहा होगा. ठीक है. So that thing you need to get. So A से D आया, D से I आया, I से C आया, next word क्या होगा? You can see that वो +3 +4 +5 ऐसे हो रहा है. तो नंबर में क्लिक करना ज़्यादा समझ आता है. ओके. तो अगर फर्स्ट पॉइंट क्लियर कर पा रहे हो तो दैट्स ओके. अदरवाइज जस्ट राइट ऑन द नंबर एंड देन सॉल्व इट. सेम विद दिस पार्ट आल्सो. ओके. 1920th मस्ट अटेम्प्ट क्वेश्चन. डिडक्टिव लॉजिक में आपने ये पढ़े ही हैं क्वेश्चंस, तो इजीएस्ट होते हैं. ठीक है. करने स्किप करने का कोई लॉजिक नहीं है. तो अगर मैं 20 में से बोल रहा हूँ आपको that you have to need to attempt 13 questions, right? तो मेरा चांस कहाँ बचता है? ये सिंगलटन जितने भी क्वेश्चन हैं ये होने चाहिए. ठीक है. स्किप कौन से कर सकता हूँ मैं? थर्ड, फोर्थ, राइट. अगर क्लिक हो रहा है वेल एंड गुड. ओके. नहीं हो रहा है मैं स्किप कर रहा हूँ. डेटा अरेंजमेंट 2 या 3 सेट मिलेंगे आपको. ठीक है. तो 2 या 3 सेट्स के अंदर जनरली एक तो काफी इजी होगा, एक टफ हो सकता है और एक मीडियम लेवल का हो सकता है. तो यू जस्ट सी व्हाट which 2 sets you need to do. Okay. Some of you are asking for question number 19 and 20. Okay, let's see question number 19 first. So, few basics of syllogism, that affirmative statement cannot give you a negative answer, right? If I say some A or B, you cannot say some A or not B. Is it clear, all of you, right? So see, in 19 question, it is given that statement 1, some movies have subtitles. Okay? Some movies have subtitles, can be done like this. Okay? There can be other chance also that all movies have subtitles, so that can be this is also some movies have subtitles, right? So there are 3 cases generally. Statement 2, not all movies are in English. Okay, so see a difference here. If I say all movies are not in English, if I say all A is not B, that means A and B are disjoint. Okay, but here what is written is not all movies are in English. Okay, this is equivalent to some movies are not English. Is that clear, all of you? Not all and all not, there is a difference, right? Not all means सारे नहीं हैं, कुछ हो सकते हैं. So what is this equivalent to? Some A are not B. Okay, this is the one confusion which is there, right? Statement 3, all subtitles are in English. All subtitles are English. So this can be done. This can be done. Now, if you see again the second statement, some movies are not English, right? Some movies are not English. So ये वाला मेरा part out हो गया because the सारी movies English हैं. Now see, these 2 parts are there. I have what is the conclusion, right? Some Hindi movies have English subtitles. Okay. First point. He was talking about movies, not Hindi movies. So yes, term ही गड़बड़ है. This cannot be my answer. Is that clear? English बोला हुआ है, हिंदी कोई बात नहीं हुई है. Some movies do not have subtitles. This is very much true in these 2 parts. So this is my answer. An English movie cannot have English subtitles. English movie, English subtitle, again, this term is questionable. Okay. Just observe this thing that when we say some A are not B, we are not bothered about the meaning of A and B, right? So English subtitles की बात कहीं नहीं हुई. So again, this is not correct, right? So my answer is second only. Just hold on. Wait for a moment, right? Yeah, coming back. Okay. So the answer key is given as D, right? So I guess there is some misprint is there. The right answer is only second. Okay. So we'll schedule this while checking the answers in the OMR sheet, right? So those who have marked option A is the right one. Is it clear now? Rahul, Ramesh, okay, Ayush. The answer of this question is A, first. Right. So 28th. So we have doubt in 20th also. No? Okay. Again, kindness can gather praise. All charity is kindness. So first point मुझे मिला, all charity is kindness. Kindness can gather praise means all kindness, right? So that is mentioned, we can assume all. All kindness gather praise. Okay. Some charity is worthless. So some charity is worthless. This could be like this. Now, which of the following is true? Those who believe in charity are kind. Believe in charity, right? This is again a questionable word arrangement, right? ऊपर charity की बात हुई है. Believe in charity का मुझे कोई idea नहीं. Okay? Some charity is kind but worthless. Some charity is kind but worthless. Yes, it's true for this part, right? Kindness makes us worthy. Again, this part is questionable, right? So these type of statements or word makes us like ये generally answer नहीं होते. Okay, so my answer is again only two. Okay. Right, so we are done with this part now. I guess 19 and 20 are clear now. So he's asking, doesn't statement 1 imply some kindness is said? No. Right. Okay. Coming back. Surabhi, yes. You're asking that statement 1 implies some kindness is praise. No. Again, don't go by the meaning of the words, right? Here it is mentioned all charity is kindness, right? So I don't know who believes in charity. If he say charity are kind, charity is kind, then we can think of. Okay. If he says all charities are kind, or some kindness is charity, that will be right. Okay. You have to find out the exact word, right? So it's not like this that all charity is given and in the text it is given that believe in charity. So believe in charity is again questionable, right? Okay. 1920 is clear now or not? 90 is clear, I guess now. The answer is second, only second. It's very much clear from the Venn diagram also. And although statement 2, not all movies are English, that means at least one movie is there which is in English. Okay. तो कम से कम एक मूवी होगी जो इंग्लिश में होगी और कम से कम एक होगी जो नहीं होगी, राइट? सिंपल लॉजिक. Rahul, what are you asking? How can you say that? What? Yes. Again, see, Rahul, when we say not all movies are in English, right, that means there has to be at least one movie जो इंग्लिश में नहीं है. सिंपल हिंदी वर्ड में समझो, नॉट ऑल का मतलब है सारे ही नहीं है, राइट? कुछ हैं कुछ नहीं है. ओके, so not all A is B is equivalent to some A or not B. Okay. So coming back to this. Now come to BI part. See? Now there are 5 sets in this BI part. So if I say I have to attempt 10 questions or so, then I just need to find 3 sets out of these 5 sets which are easy, right? Or what I can do is I can just see the questions, right? For example, if you see the first set from 1 to 23rd, okay, simple pie chart based question. First one is given in degrees, second one is given in percentages, right? So see the options, okay? 21st option is 1.93, 1.5, 1.2, 0.67, right? First व्यू में मुझे काफी क्लोज ऑप्शन दिखते हैं, बट पूछा ये क्या है मुझसे, हाउ मेनी टाइम्स इज दिस मोर और लेस देन दिस. सो based on the statement I can say the options are very far. So this is a must try question because I can solve it with approximation also, right? मुझे बहुत ज्यादा कैलकुलेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी इसको. तो ये मेरा एक पक्का क्वेश्चन करने वाला बनता था इस टेस्ट के अंदर, ठीक है. 22nd total number of units produced by the byproduct taken together is this one. Number of units produced by this one is 20% over the year. So this is again question looks easy. Options are again quite far. 350 and 306 is quite far, right? 418 is again quite far. 245 is again quite far. ये भी मेरा क्वेश्चन करने वाला बनता है. ऑप्शन क्लोज नहीं है, मैं अप्रोक्सीमेशन से काम चला सकता हूँ. Yeah. 23rd number of units produced in the 5 products total is 550 lakhs. 10%, 5%, 15% increment and blah blah blah. नहीं करने वाले यार, छोड़ दो उसको. ठीक है, पहला पॉइंट मेरे क्या क्लियर होगा. एक सेट मुझे मिला, 2 क्वेश्चन इजीली मिल रहे हैं करने के लिए, इन 2 करूंगा, थर्ड छोड़ दूंगा, आगे चलाऊंगा. मुझे ज्यादा टेंशन दिए में लेनी भी नहीं है, राइट? तो मेरे को देखना है कि कौन कौन से क्वेश्चन के ऑप्शन दूर होंगे, क्लोज होंगे ऑप्शन, मैं बिल्कुल रिटर्न नहीं करूंगा उसको. ओके, जो इजी क्वेश्चन है वो ट्राई करना है. तो पहले 2 पक्का करने वाले थे, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट पर आते हैं. सिंपल टेबल दी हुई है, राइट? इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन इन मिलियन watt hours of 11 countries of the years. डेटा भी सिंपल सा है, 2 डिजिट मैक्सिमम 3 डिजिट के क्वेश्चन हैं, शायद करने वाले बिल्कुल बनते हैं. 24th question, if you see which country recorded the highest percentage increase in the electricity generation over any year in the preceding year, you can just simply look at the data and you can find the answer. Okay, just follow the data. 80, 76, 78, 80 बहुत कम डिक्रीज हो रहा है, ठीक है. 60, 68.8, 70 बहुत कम है. 538, 548 ये भी काफी कम हुआ. So if you just observe this is the point, you will just see after a while 1.6 becomes 3.7. Right? Is asking for percentage increase. It is more than double. तो मुझे क्लियर कट दिखता है यहाँ पर, राइट? So my answer has to be like simple. Without calculation, I can solve this question. ये must attempt question था, right? केवल ऑब्जर्व करके मेरा आंसर आ गया, क्योंकि और कोई भी इससे डबल चलो तो एटलीस्ट नहीं हो रहा है. सो 24 क्वेश्चन अगर छोड़ रहे हो तो यह प्रॉब्लम है. 25th, which country recorded the lowest CAGR in the electricity generation over the given period? CAGR is what? Compounded annual growth rate. Means 80.3 से 80.9 हो गया, सो कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट का फॉर्मूला लगा के आपको रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट निकालना है, राइट? सो आई हैव टू यूज द फॉर्मूला दैट 80.9 is equal to 80.3 into 1 plus r by 100 raised to the power 3 number of periods. बट मैं इतना नहीं करूंगा, वाई? बिकॉज मुझे केवल ये फाइंड करना है कि CAGR किसका हाईएस्ट है। जिसका नॉर्मल इंक्रीज हाईएस्ट होगा उसका CAGR भी हाईएस्ट होगा, ठीक है? तो मुझे यहाँ पे सिंपल एनुअल ग्रोथ रेट भी निकालूंगा तो भी आंसर है, या सिंपल इंक्रीज देखूंगा तो भी आंसर आ जाएगा। तो मुझे कैलकुलेशन बिल्कुल नहीं करनी है, ठीक है? मैं केवल ये देखूंगा कि हाईएस्ट परसेंटेज इंक्रीज कहाँ हो सकता है। 80.3 बिकम्स 80.9, केवल 0.6 का इंक्रीज है। 68 बिकम्स 76, ऑलमोस्ट 8 का इंक्रीज है, 7-8 का। 538 पे 567, बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज नहीं हुआ इसके अंदर, ठीक है? आयरलैंड भी 1.3 का 4 का इंक्रीज है आपके पास। स्पेन का आप 3 डिजिट और 2 डिजिट में कंबाइन क्लब करोगे तो नंबर ऑफ इंक्रीज आपको ज्यादा दिखता है। 214 becomes 250, बट वो 3 डिजिट नंबर है। ऑब्जर्व लाइक दिस कि 21 becomes 25, तो केवल 4 का चेंज हुआ, राइट? दैट मीन्स ये पक्का ही लोवेस्ट तो नहीं होने वाला है। मेरा लोवेस्ट अभी तक का ये दिख रहा है 0.6, ठीक है? बाकी सब इंक्रीज से ज्यादा ही है। 263 280 हो गया, तो 0.1 प्लस शिफ्ट भी कर दूंगा तो 26 becomes 28, तो 1 पॉइंट समथिंग का इंक्रीज हुआ। यहाँ पे 0.3 का इंक्रीज है, ठीक है? तो ये तो बहुत ज्यादा, 1.1 becomes 3.6, ट्रिपल हो गया ऑलमोस्ट, ठीक है? तो यू इफ यू जस्ट सी दिस फाइट, 0.6 से लोवेस्ट आपको कहीं नहीं मिल रहा, इससे कम इंक्रीज कहीं नहीं है, यही मेरा आंसर होना चाहिए। दैट्स व्हाट इज बेल्जियम, ठीक है? तो द पॉइंट इज आपको एक्चुअल कैलकुलेशन नहीं करना पड़ा, राइट? यहाँ आपको आर की वैल्यू फाइंड आउट नहीं करनी पड़ी, आपको 80.9 अपॉन 80.3 का स्क्वायर रूट नहीं निकालना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? एक्चुअल चीज आप पूछेगा तो डेफिनेटली निकालेंगे यार, उसमें तो मैं क्वेश्चन करूंगा नहीं, सिंपल बस। 26 X and Y countries produce highest and lowest aggregate sum of electricity. डिफरेंस पूछ रहा है, बिल्कुल करना बनता है यार। परसेंटेज इंक्रीज नहीं पूछ रहे हो, ऐड और माइनस ही करना है, तो मैं क्यों नहीं करूंगा क्वेश्चन को? ये पूरा सेट ही करने वाला था, क्या? So it is asking why did not do 0.6 over 80? Yes, we did it, right? 0.6 का इंक्रीज ओवर 80 और आगे मैं बोल रहा हूँ 1.2 का इंक्रीज ओवर समथिंग, इससे ज्यादा होने के लिए उसको 160 पर इंक्रीज होना चाहिए। लाइक इफ आई से 0.6 अपॉन 80, ठीक है, एंड 1.2 अपॉन 90, या लेट्स से 120, विच वन इज ग्रेटर? आपने इसको डबल कर दिया, लेकिन ये तो डबल से कम इंक्रीज हुआ है, ठीक है? तो वही तो ऑब्जर्व किया कि 0.6 वैल्यू इतनी कम है, आगे आप चलते हो तो 1.3 पॉइंट समथिंग इंक्रीज है। न्यूमरेटर जितना ज्यादा बड़ा करोगे वैल्यू और बड़ी होती जाएगी, आपको लोवेस्ट फाइंड करना है, लोवेस्ट ये होने वाला है, ओके? सो इट इज क्लियर नाउ, ठीक, राइट, ओके। अगेन नेक्स्ट पार्ट, इसमें भी आपको कुछ 7, yeah, table given below the data of the 4 companies of foreign exchange reserve। तो कुछ मंथ्स में आपको फॉरेन PSS दिया हुआ है, गोल्ड दिया हुआ है, रिजर्व दिया हुआ है, SDR दिया हुआ है, ठीक है? एंड foreign exchange is the total of all the values, okay? What's the question like? Foreign exchange reserve the highest in, that means what we need to do is we have to calculate the addition of all the rows and we need to find the values, ठीक है? इसमें एक काम हम ये कर सकते थे, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट वैल्यू इज क्वाइट लार्ज, राइट? द 5 डिजिट नंबर 12,858 एंड सो ऑन फोर्थ, जिसका ये ज्यादा होगा तो चांसेस होंगे कि वही टोटल भी ज्यादा बनना चाहिए इसका, बिकॉज बाकी सारी वैल्यूज या तो 4 डिजिट में है या 3 डिजिट में है, तो वो ज्यादा इफेक्ट नहीं डालेंगे, ठीक है? तो इफ आई जस्ट ऑब्जर्व द फर्स्ट कॉलम ओनली, मेरा हाईएस्ट कौन सा है? 14,484, और इसके क्लोजेस्ट जो नेक्स्ट बनेगा वो इससे ऑलमोस्ट 120-130 कम है, ठीक है? दिस वन 100 के आसपास कम है, सॉरी, लेकिन इसमें यहाँ पे बहुत कम डिफरेंस है, केवल 12 का डिफरेंस है। यहाँ पे बहुत डिफरेंस है, यहाँ पे बहुत कम डिफरेंस है। मेरी ये वैल्यू इतनी बड़ी हो गई है जिसने इसको 100 पॉइंट्स आगे बढ़ा दिया। ठीक है, मेरा मोस्ट प्रोबेबल आंसर यही होना चाहिए। ठीक है, जहाँ पर मुझे डाउट है मैं वहाँ चेक कर लूंगा। 354 में डाउट था, मैंने चेक कर लिया, जो ऑब्वियसली नीचे पड़ रहा है इससे। ठीक है, क्योंकि 100 का गैप तो नहीं बनाने वाला। इसके नेक्स्ट क्लोजेस कौन सी बनेगी? 287 या 319। उसमें आप देखोगे तो यहाँ 15 का डिफरेंस हुआ, यहाँ पर भी केवल 50 का डिफरेंस है ऑलमोस्ट, और 40 का लेट से, और यहाँ पे 10 का डिफरेंस है। तो 150 का डिफरेंस तो नहीं आने वाला है, तो डेफिनेटली मेरा आंसर जून हो जाएगा। तो प्रैक्टिकली इफ यू सी, मैंने ऐड करके बिल्कुल नहीं देखा, मेरे को केवल फर्स्ट कॉलम से आइडिया मिल गया कि ये मेरा हाईएस्ट होना चाहिए। राइट, सो दिस कुड बी डन। 25 में क्या पूछता है? The total value of SDR for the 6 months put together was what percent of more or less than first 6 months, or and options are 3.14, 2.56, 3.8. So close options. अगर मैं ये क्वेश्चन करूंगा तो मेरा कुछ नहीं होने वाला एग्जाम में। जो मैं एग्जाम्पल दे रहा था आपको 2.44, 2.46, ये वही एग्जाम्पल है। इसके ऑप्शंस में क्लोज हैं, इसको अटेंड नहीं करना है। यहाँ पे मुझे ये नहीं पूछ रहा है कि कितने टाइम्स हो गया है, तब तो मैं इसको बिल्कुल करता। ये पूछ रहा है कि व्हाट परसेंट मोर और लेस, 2.4% और 3.14% डेफिनेटली राइट हो गई है। मुझे एग्जैक्टली कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा, उतना टाइम मैं कहीं और लगाऊंगा, एलार्म लगाऊंगा, फॉन्ट में लगाऊंगा। ठीक है, तो 27 करने वाला था, 28 करने वाला बिल्कुल नहीं था। 29th, इन हाउ मेनी मंथ्स ड्यूरिंग द गिवन पीरियड फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व विटनेस डिक्लाइन। अब यहाँ पे मुझे ये तो देखना पड़ेगा कि हर एक मंथ का टोटल क्या आता है। ठीक है, बट जो मैंने काम 27 क्वेश्चन में किया, सेम कैन बी डन है कि मैं फर्स्ट कॉलम में देख लेता हूँ कि कौन सा डिक्रीज या इंक्रीज हुआ है। मोस्ट ऑफ द चांसेस ये होंगे कि वहीं पे ज्यादा इंक्रीज डिक्रीज हुआ हो। तो पहला मेजर डिक्लाइन मुझे दिखता है, सर्चिंग फॉर डिक्लाइन डिस्कवरी। तो 12, 8, 127, 13, 133, 136, एक तो मुझे अगस्त में डिक्लाइन दिखा था, सॉरी यस, अगस्त में काफी डिक्लाइन दिख रहा है। ठीक है, अगस्त टू सितंबर, जून टू जुलाई डिक्लाइन दिख रहा है, बाकी तो इंक्रीज ही हो रहे हैं। और जनवरी टू फरवरी डिक्लाइन हो रहा है। तो मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली इन 3 महीने में चेक करना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, राइट। तो मतलब चांस की बात है, ये क्वेश्चन आपको लगता है कि इन 3 से मेरा काम बनता है, देन चेक फॉर अदर वैल्यूज और अदर रोज एंड यू कैन अटेम्प्ट इट, राइट। Like his answer is 3 only. Right. So this can be done. Okay. 38. What is the absolute difference between the aggregate reserve transship positions and SDR? ये तो simply मेरे से addition minus पूछ रहा है, तो that can be done again. ठीक है. 30 definitely करने वाला था. 31st, during the given period, the minimum value of foreign currency assets in the month was P. If this one was Q, P is 4% of Q. Again, यहाँ मुझे फाइट है यार. I can do this question definitely, but the options like 80.86 and 88.16, these are so close options. Should I do it? I say no, right? So if out of these 5 questions आपको करने हैं तो फर्स्ट करिए, 29th करिए, 30th करिए, और इन 3 में से कोई 2 कर लीजिए जो आपको इजी लगता है। पहला पक्का करने वाला है, 29, 30 में से 29 भी करने वाला बनता है, 38 भी बनती है, सॉरी 30 करने वाला बनता है, 29 का आप चांसेस रखते हो। ठीक है, तो दिस इज द बेस्ट स्ट्रेटेजी इन दैट केस। मेरा ऑप्शन काफी दूर होना चाहिए, तो मैं इसको अटेम्प्ट करूंगा। ओके, अगेन इस पर आते हैं। ग्राउंड नट और मस्टर्ड का आपको दिया हुआ है कि यील्ड पर रखे एंड सन फॉर 22nd क्वेश्चन पढ़ते हैं। इन ईच ऑफ द ईयर्स इन अ गिवन पीरियड द एरिया एंड द कल्टीवेटेड ऑफ द वाज एक्सेप्टेड। ठीक है, कुछ चीज बोल रहा है, मुझे समझ बाद में करेंगे इसको। मेरे को पहला डाउट यहाँ उठ जाता है कि 1.8% मोर, 1.9% लेस, 2.3% मोर, 2.1% लेस। ये ऑप्शंस देखो यार कितने क्लोज हैं। राइट। ये ट्रिकिंग पॉइंट्स होते हैं कि ये क्वेश्चन मुझे नहीं करना है। इतने क्लोज ऑप्शन में करने बैठूंगा तो जितने टाइम में ये क्वेश्चन करोगे उतने में 2 क्वेश्चन मैच हो जाएंगे। ठीक है। 33rd is absolute difference between the yield per hectare of groundnut and mustard is measured each year and ranked are according. So 1st and 8th दिया हुआ है, आपको 5th रैंक दिखी होगी। ये तो कैलकुलेट करने की जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगी, ग्राफ को देख के आइडिया मिल जाएगा। आपको क्या निकालना है? 5th रैंक निकालनी है इधर से, या 3rd रैंक निकालनी है उधर के, राइट। सो और डिफरेंस पूछ रहा है, डिफरेंस लोवेस्ट कहाँ दिख रहा है? यहाँ दिख रहा है। सेकंड लोवेस्ट कहाँ दिख रहा है? यहाँ दिख रहा है। तो फर्स्ट ये हो गया, सेकंड ये हो गया, थर्ड फोर्थ इनमें से कोई होगा, कौन सा होगा उसको मुझे टेंशन नहीं है। 5th मेरा आंसर क्या होना चाहिए? या तो ये या फिर ये। जस्ट चेक फॉर दिस एंड गेट योर आंसर। ठीक है। सो मस्ट डू क्वेश्चन 33rd। 34th पे आते हैं। विच ईयर विटनेस द 3rd हाईएस्ट परसेंटेज इंक्रीज? अगेन ग्राफ जब भी दिया हुआ है, चाहे वो लाइन ग्राफ हो या फिर टेबल ग्राफ हो, परसेंटेज इंक्रीज डिक्रीज तो मैं देख कर निकाल सकता हूँ। अब वो पूछ रहा है मेरे से मस्टर्ड में 3rd हाईएस्ट परसेंटेज इंक्रीज कहाँ हुआ? हाईएस्ट तो मुझे साफ दिख रहा है कि एक तो ये हुआ, एक ये हुआ, 2 तो ये हो गया मेरे पास। तो 3rd वाला मेरा कौन सा आना चाहिए? या तो ये और दिस। तो डेफिनेटली इससे बड़ा तो ये दिख रहा है मुझे, इंक्लिनेशन हैज टू बी माय आंसर 2010। So you see these 2 questions can be done without calculating the exact values. ये पक्का ही करने वाले थे। Okay. 35 again, which year witnessed the 2nd highest percentage increase? Same logic, right? तो ये 3 क्वेश्चन करना बनते थे पक्का ही। Okay. 34 का आंसर बी है। Yes. 35 is A. 36, absolute difference between maximum annual percent increase. Some of you are asking question number 34 again. Okay. 34 question is asking 3rd highest percentage increase in the yield of mustard, right? हाईएस्ट तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ 7 to 8 हुआ है यार, क्योंकि इतना शार्प इंक्रीज हुआ है यहाँ पर। सेकंड हाईएस्ट हुआ 11 to 12। ठीक है। थर्ड हाईएस्ट या तो मेरा ये है या फिर ये है। तो अगर डाउट है भी तो इन दोनों में चेक कर लीजिए, बिकॉज दिस डेटा इज व्हाट? वन 80, right? This is 1140 and the third one is 1150। 1140 से 1180 ज्यादा इंक्रीज हुआ है, 40 का इंक्रीज हुआ और वो ओवर दिस पर भी यहाँ पे 10 का इंक्रीज है। तो थर्ड हाईएस्ट तो यही होगा ना यार, आंसर इज 10 ओनली। क्लियर आंसर ना? 40 over 1140 or 10 over 1150, much difference? Okay, moving on. Okay. So again, 2 charts are given. 2 bar charts are given. GDP of India and transport. पहले में आपको दिया हुआ है depreciate as a percentage of GDP and second to GDP. So the logic is very simple. 0.4% of 617.6 करूंगा and 0.4। ठीक है। क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है मेरा? Absolute difference between current account deficit of India in 03 and 2012। आपको क्या करना है? 0.4% of 616 निकालना है and 12 के लिए आपका हो जाएगा 4% of 1841 and you just need to find the difference. So again, this is again a must attempt question. 37 मुझे करना बनता है। 38 में पूछ रहा है हेड द करंट डेफिसिट इज 1.8 परसेंटेज पॉइंट लेस देन द एक्चुअल वैल्यू, व्हाट हैड बीन इक्वल। अगेन सेम क्वेश्चन, इजी क्वेश्चन है और ऑप्शन बड़े अच्छे हैं यहाँ पे। 12.24, 1.224, 122.4। चौथा मैं छोड़ सकता हूँ यार, अगर ये तीन ऑप्शन ऐसे हैं तो इनमें से आंसर होना चाहिए। और आई नीड टू चेक ओनली द डेसिमल पॉइंट, कहाँ पे पॉइंट आ रहा है, तो मुझे केवल प्लेसिंग से मतलब है यहाँ, ठीक है। तो ये क्वेश्चन भी पक्का करना बनता है, ऑप्शंस के अंदर पॉइंट कभी नहीं होगा इसके अंदर, ठीक है। 39 एब्सोल्यूट डिफरेंस बिटवीन द सम ऑफ जीडीपी ऑफ दिस एंड दिस एंड दिस एंड दिस। आपको टाइम मिलता है ये क्वेश्चन करना बिल्कुल बनता है, आपको केवल ऐड करना है और माइनस करना है, ठीक है। तो अगर और कहीं पर मेरा टाइम सेव हो रहा है, अभी करना चाहते हो अभी कर लो, नहीं करना चाहते हो तो सो यू कैन सेव इट फॉर द लेटर पार्ट। 5 मिनट हमने छोड़ दिया ना बाद में, तो जो सम बनाया था हमने अराउंड 110, तो मेरे पास 10 मिनट बचते हैं, जिसमें से 5 मिनट अगर आप निकाल लोगे जो होगा तो 5 मिनट का स्टेप है यहाँ वो आप जो वहाँ पर यूज कर सकते हो जो क्वेश्चन मुझे दोबारा करने बनते हैं, ठीक है। अगेन कम टू थर्ड पार्ट, सेकंड पार्ट सॉरी, कौन पे जाते हैं, कौन कौन से क्वेश्चन पहली नजर में देखते हैं जो मुझे करने बनने हैं, ठीक है। 48 क्वेश्चन में परसेंटेज इंक्रीज 1 2 3 4 5 इंक्रीज दिया हुआ है, शायद मैं फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट नहीं करूंगा इसको। 41 सिंपल दिख रहा है मेरे को, हाइट एंड डिस्टेंस का क्वेश्चन, जनरली क्वेश्चन बहुत इजी होते हैं, पक्का करना बनता है। सम ऑफ फर्स्ट 3 टर्म्स नेक्स्ट में एबीजीबी बात चल रही है, पक्का करना बनता है। लॉग की सीरीज दी हुई है, करना बनता है यार। सम ऑफ इंटीजर्स नंबर से बहुत सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन है, ट्राई करेंगे। क्वाड्रेटिक सम ऑफ रूट्स, वन रूट इज प्रोड्यूस ऑफ अदर, बिल्कुल करना बनता है। यूनिट डिजिट मास्टर हो आप लोग इसमें तो। रिमाइंडर काफी ही किया हुआ है, अभी ट्राई करते हैं, बाद में देखेंगे क्या करते हैं। एन इज इंटीजर मैक्सिमम वैल्यू ऑफ ये मैक्सिमम मिनिमम तो वैसे ही डाउटफुल रहता है हमारा, इसको अभी के गोला मार सकता हूँ कि करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, इसकी तो टेंथ इतनी बड़ी है, बाद में देखते हैं इसको। 10th डिजिट ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चनेबल क्वेश्चन आपने क्लास में किए हुए हैं, पढ़ाए भी हम लोगों ने, आप कंफर्टेबल हो तो करेंगे, लेकिन ये सेकेंड राउंड क्वेश्चन है नॉट फर्स्ट राउंड, क्योंकि आपको आता भी है तो आप टाइम तो पक्का ही लगाओगे डेफिनेटली, ठीक है। तो ये मैं फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट तो बिल्कुल नहीं करने वाला हूँ। 51 में कुछ किया हुआ है, आपको स्क्वायर शीट मेंसुरेशन का लग रहा है, इसको ट्राई कर सकते हैं। एरिया मेंसुरेशन बहुत सिंपल सा एक क्वेश्चन है, बिल्कुल ट्राई करना बनता है। एफिशिएंसी टाइम एंड वर्क, ये रेशियो तो आप चलते फिरते भी कर लोगे। 50%, 40%, मोर देन दैट ऑफ अकाउंट, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, लंबे लंबे क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं। अच्छा ये ऐसा ही क्वेश्चन करना बन सकता है, बाकी भी लेंथ देख के हम डर जाएंगे। प्रोबेबिलिटी यार आपकी चांस की बात है, आपको अच्छी लगती है आप करो, नहीं लगती है नहीं करेंगे। 68 क्वेश्चन अजीब सा लग रहा है लिखने में। 61 रिप्लेसमेंट का कुछ दिया हुआ है, ये डेफिनेटली फर्स्ट लेवल क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, ठीक है। एपीजीपी आ गया अगेन, पॉइंट्स एपीजीपी। यस, मेरा फर्स्ट राउंड क्लियर हो गया मुझे। फर्स्ट राउंड मैंने कितने क्वेश्चन सेलेक्ट कर लिए, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 क्वेश्चंस मेरे पास मिल गए जो मुझे फर्स्ट 15 मिनट्स में ही आंसर करने हैं, ठीक है, या फर्स्ट 10 मिनट्स में करना है, क्योंकि सारे ही क्वेश्चन ऐसे हैं जो काफी इजी क्वेश्चन हैं, ठीक है। अगर ये सारे हो जाते हैं राइट, उसके बाद अब मेरा सेकंड राउंड की बात आती है। देन आई कैन सी 40th क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो, क्योंकि इंक्रीज डिक्रीज कुछ पूछ रहा है, कुछ तो आंसर आएगा, और इसलिए भी बिकॉज ऑप्शंस आर क्वाइट फार, ऑप्शन बहुत दूर है, इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ बिकॉज ये मल्टीप्लाई फैक्टर चल रहा है यहाँ पर। इट्स नॉट लाइक दिस 1.35 और 1.4 तो बहुत क्लोज है, इट्स 35% एंड 40%, इट्स फार राइट, नॉट क्लोज। बट ये सेकंड राउंड का क्वेश्चन है, ठीक है। 41 आई गेस कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी आपको, 42nd भी एक्चुअली इजी थे सारे क्वेश्चन ये, ठीक है। देयर कैन बी सम ट्रिक्स लाइक इन 44th क्वेश्चन, दो यहाँ पर इतना ज्यादा नहीं चला ये क्वेश्चन, बट जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट, शायद ये कहीं किसी एग्जाम में चल जाए, ठीक है। इज आस्किंग फॉर सम ऑफ ऑल इंटीजर्स विच मीन 200 and 400 विच आर मल्टीपल ऑफ 7। एक बात तो पक्की है कि आपका आंसर 7 का मल्टीपल होगा, दो ऑप्शन तो 7 के मल्टीपल नहीं है, तो ये तो मेरा आंसर हो ही सकते हैं। तो माई बेस्ट चांस विद दिस और दिस, ठीक है। बाकी आपको ऐड करना है तो आप कर ही सकते हो, एबी का क्वेश्चन है, आप फर्स्ट टर्म निकालो, लास्ट टर्म निकालो, ऐड करके निकाल ही जाता है कितने आते हैं। इवन इफ देन यू आर क्लियर विद दिस पार्ट, द नंबर ऑफ एलिमेंट्स कितने होंगे, नंबर ऑफ इस पूरे सीरीज में, वो आप निकालो तो 29 आता है। तो अगर इतना भी क्लियर हो जाता है तो 29 के बाद मुझे क्लियर होगा कि आंसर है, बिकॉज ये तो 29 का मल्टीपल नहीं है, 29 इज अ प्राइम नंबर, उसके फैक्टराइज करने का मुझे मतलब नहीं होता है। तो एक्चुअल सम मतलब एक बार आपको क्लियर हो गया कि ये पॉइंट होने चाहिए, 7 का मल्टीपल होना चाहिए, 29 का मल्टीपल होना चाहिए, फिर आंसर आ गया डी। मैं क्यों अपना 5 सेकंड भी वेस्ट करूँ ये सोचने में कि उसका एग्जैक्ट आंसर क्या आएगा, ठीक है। सो दिस ट्रिक कुड बी डन हियर। 45th वैसे तो इजी क्वेश्चन था, बट यू कैन सॉल्व दिस बाय पुटिंग द वैल्यूज ऑफ एबीसी आल्सो, ओके। जब वो सिंपली बोल रहा है वन रूट इज ट्वाइस ऑफ अदर, you can just take 1 and 2 as the roots and make an equation, see the values of ABC, find the value of 2b square and check for the answers. Although none of these is in the option, but in that case you can take a risk, right? 46 में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए। 47 पे आते हैं। What is the remainder when just a second, Ashutosh, which question you are asking for? Why you choose D over A? Okay, D over A because when you count, one point is very much clear that you need to count, you need to find the sum of all the numbers. So first you need to find the number of elements in the series, in the AP. 200 और 400 के बीच में कितने नंबर ऐसे हैं जो 7 के मल्टीपल है, वो तो फाइंड करोगे ना पहले, ठीक है। तो वो 29 आपके पास आएंगे, राइट। 29 के बाद मैं कह रहा हूँ कि आपको फॉर्मूला लगा के एग्जैक्ट नहीं निकालना है, बिकॉज अगर 29 आ रहा है नंबर ऑफ टर्म्स, तो 29 का मल्टीपल तो मेरा आंसर होना ही चाहिए। 7728 इज नॉट अ मल्टीपल ऑफ 29, नो। सो द आंसर इज 8729, राइट। 47 पर आते हैं। 6 फैक्टोरियल 7 फैक्टोरियल ब्ला 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 डिवाइड बाय 243। क्वेश्चन टफ लग रहा है देखने में, थोड़ा सा ट्राई करते हैं। अगर 6 फैक्टोरियल कॉमन आ जाएगा तो बचेगा समथिंग समथिंग समथिंग, उसको खोल देते हैं अभी, और डिवाइड कर रहे हो 243 से। 6 फैक्टोरियल कितना होता है 720 इंटू समथिंग डिवाइड बाई 243। आपने अगर क्लास में थोड़ा बहुत रिमाइंडर क्वेश्चन किए हैं, whenever we can cancel out some part of the numerator and denominator, ठीक है। जैसे इसमें आप देखो तो ये 9 से कैंसिल हो रहा है, राइट। तो इसमें हम करते क्या थे कि हम पहले कैंसिल कर लेते थे कि 9 से कैंसिल हो गया, फाइनली आपने इसको कैलकुलेट किया और आपका रिमाइंडर लेट से के आया, तो फाइनल रिमाइंडर आपका क्या होना चाहिए था 9 के। जब आपने क्लास में पढ़ा हुआ बिल्कुल कि जो फैक्टर आप कैंसिल करते हो, राइट, उससे वापस मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ता है, ठीक है। सो वट एवर रिमाइंडर यू विल गेट आफ्टर कैंसिल दिस पार्ट, you have to multiply this by 9. That means one point is very much sure that my answer has to be multiple of 9. ये 9 का मल्टीपल नहीं है, ये 9 का मल्टीपल नहीं है, ये 9 का मल्टीपल नहीं है, तो क्या बचा? Got it? तो अगेन मुझे एक्चुअल कैलकुलेशन की जरूरत बिल्कुल नहीं पड़ेगी यहाँ पर। Clear all of you? So ये थोड़ा स्मार्ट क्वांट ट्रैकर लगाने वाले कुछ सकते हैं, ठीक है। 48 मुझे अभी तक समझ में नहीं आया कि करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे, बाद में सोचते हैं इसको। 10th डिजिट अगेन का डाउट ही है। 51 में देखिए, 144 congruent squares of a particular dimension are drawn on a square sheet of paper without overlap and no area remains left on the sheet. एक बात पक्की है कि मेरा टोटल एरिया 144 का मल्टीपल होना चाहिए, ठीक है। उसके बाद बोल रहा है कि साइड ऑफ स्क्वायर 2 सेंटीमीटर लेस होती तो 225 स्क्वायर बन जाते। इसका मतलब एरिया 225 का भी मल्टीपल होना चाहिए। तो ज्यादा किसी टेंशन में ना पड़ते हुए मेरे को केवल ये देखना है विच ऑप्शन इज डिविजिबल बाई 144 as well as 225। तो 144 में 12 का स्क्वायर होता है, तो ये ऑप्शन तो वैसे ही आउट हो गया, ये ऑप्शन वैसे ही आउट हो गया, ये भी 144 से डिसग्रुप नहीं होगा, तो यही बचता है यार। ठीक है, स्मार्टफोन क्रैकर 52 तो बहुत ही इजी क्वेश्चन था, बट ऑप्शन इतने बढ़िया है कि आप बिना कुछ किए भी आंसर निकाल सकते थे, बिना कैलकुलेशन के। तो बोल रहा है कि एक स्क्वायर है, उसमें लार्जेस्ट एरिया का सर्कल बनाया और उसके 1/4 का एरिया बताओ। सिंपल सा लॉजिक है यार कि अगर एरिया ऑफ साइड ऑफ स्क्वायर इज 4, ठीक है, तो उसका एरिया हो गया 16, 1/4 करूंगा तो 4, मेरा आंसर 4 से कम होना चाहिए, ओनली वन ऑप्शन इज देयर। ठीक है, तो कैश के अलावा IIFT में भी स्मार्टफोन क्रैकर लगता है, ध्यान रखना इस चीज का। ओके, 53rd 54 में कुछ डिस्कस करने वाला नहीं है। ठीक है, ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन तो मेरे काफी इजी बन जाते हैं जो करने वाले बनते हैं। ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन में अगर कुछ छोड़ रहे हो तो प्रॉब्लम है। अब मैं सेकंड राउंड पे कराता हूँ। 40th क्वेश्चन एग्जैक्ट कैलकुलेट नहीं भी करूंगा शायद मैं। ये बोल रहा है पहले 10% इंक्रीज हुआ, फिर 10% इंक्रीज हुआ, फिर 11% कम हो गया, फिर 20% इंक्रीज हुआ। ठीक है, 2 बार, एंड फिर फाइनली 10% कम हो गया। मैं बिना कंपाउंडेड इंक्रीज निकाले सिंपल ऐसे ही कैलकुलेट कर लूँ इसको, तो ये कितना बनता है? +10 +10 +20 +20 60 -21 39, और क्योंकि सक्सेसिव इंक्रीज है तो 39 से थोड़ा सा बड़ा तो आएगा ही आएगा आंसर, कम तो नहीं आएगा। Are you getting my point? मैं सिंपल इंक्रीज निकाल रहा हूँ, मैं कंपाउंड इंक्रीज की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि ऑप्शन मेरे बहुत दूर है। तो इफ यू अप्लाई SQC है, ये क्वेश्चन भी करने वाला बक्का ही बनता था, आंसर है 1.4, क्योंकि इस सिंपल कैलकुलेशन से मेरा आंसर 39 आ रहा है और आंसर उससे थोड़ा सा बड़ा होना चाहिए, हैज टू बी आंसर 1.4 आने। ये सब तो बहुत ही कम है। 1.35 क्लोज ऑप्शन था, बट क्योंकि मेरा आंसर इससे बड़ा होना चाहिए तो आंसर शुड बी 1.4 नॉट 1.35। सो दिस इज अगेन अ डूएबल क्वेश्चन, राइट? इन ऑल्दो इन द सेकंड पार्ट, बट करने वाला बनता था। ठीक है, 49 क्वेश्चन इज मीडियम लेवल, राइट? बट ये क्वेश्चन आपने क्लास में पक्का किए हुए हैं। कैट की जो शीट है टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस की, सेकंड शीट, उसके अंदर इस तरह के क्वेश्चन डेफिनेटली हैं, तो किए हुए हैं तो आंसर पक्का ही आना चाहिए। डिस्कस करने का पॉइंट नहीं है, आपका सिंपल टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस का क्वेश्चन है। ठीक है, ये करना बनता था क्योंकि आपने क्लास में किया हुआ है। मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा क्वेश्चन ईजी है, बट क्लास में किया हुआ है इसलिए करना बनता है, और ईजी क्वेश्चन है, डायरेक्ट स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन है। आपको करना बाकी था 100/5 3 + 2 × 8। ठीक है, सो यहाँ पर मैं देख सकता हूँ कि मेरे 20 मिनट्स में कितना काम हुआ है। इफ आई एम स्टिल सम पार्ट, आई कैन अटेम्प्ट 57th क्वेश्चन, 55th क्वेश्चन, देखने में आसान लग रहे हैं क्योंकि, ठीक है, 56 देखने में गंदा लग रहा है, पहले इसने कुछ लिया, कुछ खरीदा, पक्का ही आंसर गड़बड़ आते हैं इसके अंदर। आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि क्वेश्चन टफ होगा, राइट, बट लेंथ ऑफ द क्वेश्चन अगर आप देखो तो ये क्वेश्चन जनरली सेकंड या थर्ड राउंड में आते हैं। थर्ड राउंड का नॉर्मल कभी मिलेगा नहीं आपको IIFT के अंदर, तो टाइम ही काफी शॉर्ट होता है। ठीक है, आगे करने वाले कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं थे, तो ये करने के बाद मेरा काम मिल जाता है। प्रोबेबिलिटी एंड PNC में तभी टच करूंगा जब बाकी सब हो जाए। ठीक है, मेरा पॉइंट यहाँ तक क्लियर हो गया, और जितने अटेम्प्ट हम सोच रहे थे उतने मेरे हो भी गए। तो इफ आई कम बैक टू दिस स्लाइड, व्हाट शुड बी माय अटेम्प्ट, राइट? फिलहाल में मेरा टारगेट था 2013 जो मेरे को इजीली सिलेक्ट कर लिए मैंने। ठीक है, तो ये मेरा काम पूरा बन गया। DI के अंदर 19 क्वेश्चन थे, जो भी हमने क्वेश्चन सिलेक्ट किए उसमें से एटलीस्ट 12 क्वेश्चन तो मुझे मिल ही गए। ठीक है, 12-13 क्वेश्चन मेरे पास हैं जो ऑप्शन की हेल्प से या फिर विदाउट क्वेश्चन हम कर सकते थे। आप इसमें लेवरेज लेना चाहते हो तो ठीक है, 10 पढ़ लेना। ठीक है, 10 क्वेश्चन मेरा टारगेट ये हो जाता है। 12 13 LR में करोगे तो थोड़ा बहुत नेगेटिव मार्किंग भी करोगे, स्कोर अप्रोक्सीमेटली आ जाएगा 8-9। ठीक है, DI 1 नंबर का क्वेश्चन होता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपका एक आधा गलत भी करोगे तो 9-10 क्वेश्चन मार्क्स मिल जाएंगे आपको। क्वांट के 25 क्वेश्चन थे, क्योंकि ये वाला पेपर टफ था, राइट। एक्चुअल IIFT पेपर जो लास्ट ईयर आया था उसकी क्वांट इससे काफी आसान थी, क्योंकि आपने स्टार्टिंग में क्वेश्चन देखे जो काफी दिख रहे थे, जनरली वही लेवल होता है। ठीक है, आगे वाले जो लास्ट में क्वेश्चन थे वो लेंथी क्वेश्चन वो आएंगे तो मैं करूंगा नहीं, तो कट ऑफ अकॉर्डिंगली मैनेज हो जाती है। तो क्वांट में देखा जाए तो कैन से 13-14 क्वेश्चन आप इजीली कर सकते हो जो हमने स्टार्टिंग में सेलेक्ट किए थे। ठीक है, तो यहाँ भी आपको कुछ स्कोर मिल जाएगा 12। ठीक है, बाकी पार्ट सभी आते हैं, फाइनल कट ऑफ विल डिसाइड क्या होनी चाहिए। बट बेस्ड ऑन दिस पार्ट क्वांट भी टफ आया था। लास्ट ईयर की कट ऑफ थी 50, जिसके अंदर क्वांट काफी इजी था। ठीक है, तो इस पेपर की कट ऑफ डेफिनेटली कम जानी चाहिए। आई शुड से इसकी कट ऑफ 44 के अप्रोक्सीमेटली होगी। So again, coming back to the paper, right? So now we are left with the English and GK part. Still here, any confusion about these three parts, right? You just write down my email ID and we'll hand over to Rahul Krishnan then. My ID is tarun.malik@careerlauncher.com. Any confusion, just drop me a mail, okay? So let's hand over to Rahul Krishnan now.
Okay, I'm Rahul here. Good evening, everyone. We have seen the first two sections of the IIFT mock. Now, let us go on to the next two sections, sections 3 and 4. Section 3 has two parts. The second part comprises 16 questions of RC. The first part has 3 questions from large number of questions, but then if you look at it in terms of marks, the total marks available for the GK section is only 14, just 14% of the total marks. Whereas EU plus RC altogether, this comprises 27 marks, 27%, nearly 1/4 of the marks available for your paper. So if I have to compare section 3 to section 4, section 3 would be more important as far compared to section 4 in terms of marks. But then one very big advantage that you will find with section 4 is that questions here will not be very time taking. You will be able to solve questions here very quickly. For GK, mostly you will just have to look at the options and read the question, look at the option. Mostly you will be able to answer the question straight away. You will be able to decide straight away whether you know the answer to that question or you need to leave that question. In some cases, you can even work by elimination of options. Even that will help you get to the answer of the question. So, when I talk about attempting the paper overall, many of you have been asking what should be the sequence of attempting the different sections. Now, first of all, there is no standard answer for this. First of all, the best approach would be you should decide which is your favorite section and start with that. When you start with your favorite section, that will end up giving you some confidence. You will be able to solve questions faster. That will give you some momentum. You will not get stuck too much. You will not. Whereas if you start with a section which is difficult for you, you may end up losing some motivation, and that may affect the rest of your paper as well. So always plan on starting your paper with that section which is your favorite one, with that section which is your most comfortable one. Still, if I have to talk about my particular choice, I would definitely suggest you should start with the GK section. There you have 28 questions which you can easily complete in just about 10 to 15 minutes. You only have to read the questions, look at the options. You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to do any working. Hence, you will be able to attempt questions very quickly over here. That will give you a lot of confidence. That will build up some momentum for you. So my suggestion would be definitely try to go for GK questions first. And as Tarun was also saying, you should ideally devote around 10 to 15 minutes to this. In this 10 to 15 minutes, out of the 28 questions, you should ideally look at least around 10 to 14 attempts, which should give you around 5 to 7 marks. Now, after this, you can then come to the EU plus RC section. Then go on to the LRDI portion. LRDI has a lot of questions and also has given you 34 marks, which makes it more important than the QA question. Further, in LRDI, you have many questions which are based on text. So when you are solving, if you are solving those questions towards the end of the paper, then the problem is you may have to, if you are left with say just 4 or 5 minutes at the end, unless you solve the entire set, for certain questions you may not be able to get the answer. So the last 2 to 3 minutes may simply get wasted over here. Hence, keep QA for the end, where you generally have individual questions only. So even if you have just 2 to 3 minutes in hand, you might be able to get one question easily. So my personal advice would be you can go for section 4 first, then section 3, then the LRDI portion, and then go for the QA portion. That is one suggested approach. Of course, I would again repeat, also consider your comfort level, which section you are most confident about. Now, when we discuss sections 3 and 4, let us start with section 4 quickly. Then we can move on to the EU plus RC portion. Okay, here we come to section 4. If you look at the IIFT papers, from the feedback that we have about past test papers of IIFT is that a lot of questions here are from static GK, are based on historical information, particularly questions related to India itself. Hence, reading up about India in order to prepare for IIFT GK will certainly be very advantageous. Similarly, current affairs, keeping abreast of happenings in the country and maybe major world affairs during the last 6 months to 1 year will again be very useful. Also, do note that many of the questions are, you may not be able to solve them purely based on your knowledge, but by eliminating options, you might be able to get to the answer. So keep a cool head always when you are attempting the GK section. Now, if I look at the questions over here, first of all, if I just mark the doable questions, if you look at question 101, which article of the Constitution gives power to the Governor of State? Not many of us may be very familiar with the different articles of the Constitution. Hence, maybe I can skip this question for now. Question 102, on the other hand, Swami Vivekananda, Banaras University. At least Swami Vivekananda is one person that most of us would be aware of. Even Dayanand Saraswati, for that matter, is quite a well-known figure. Based on these two alone, if I look at the options for A, Swami Vivekananda, there are two of the options which give me Ramakrishna Mission as the answer. Options B and D. Then looking at the case for Dayanand Saraswati, option B gives me Banaras Hindu University, whereas option D gives us Banaras Hindu University, whereas option C clearly gives us RSMS. Which has to be the answer? Madan Mohan Malviya, Atmaram Pandurang, these may be people who are not that well known, but just on the basis of information about Swami Vivekananda and Dayanand Saraswati, you can work through the options and arrive at the correct answer. Now, when you analyze this mock yourself, even in your classes, you would always have your faculty would always have discussed with you. If you spend say 2 hours working on some mock, after that, once you relax, you should look at all of the other questions that you did not attempt. You should look at all of the options, even for questions which you have attempted. Identify what all other methods you could have applied, what all other techniques you could have applied. So your faculty would have discussed with you, whenever you attempt any test, if you spend 2 hours working on the test, later on, while analyzing the test, while looking at all the options, while studying the test, you should spend at least 4 to 5 hours on this. This is going to be most helpful as far as GK is concerned, because even looking at the different options will give you lots of valuable information, which may help you later on in solving other questions. For example, in this question, as we were discussing, Madan Mohan Malviya and Atmaram Pandurang, these two gentlemen may not be very well known to a lot of us. But now that you have this in an option, if you just go to the net and search for it, you will straight away be able to find it was Madan Mohan Malviya who founded BHU. He founded BHU in the year 1916. He was also the chairman of HT, Hindustan Times, from 1924 to 1946. He also started a newspaper, English newspaper called The Leader in Allahabad in the year 1909. And it was because of his effort that Hindustan Times had launched its Hindi edition in 1936. Also, Banaras Hindu University, it happens to be the largest residential university in Asia and is one of the largest universities across the world. So you can get so much of information just by searching about this one person. Now, moving on to further questions. Money bill can be introduced in the parliament only with the recommendation of, I think this is one question where we can apply some common sense and we can straight away see that President of India has to be the answer, because it is the President of India who is the nominal head, who is the constitutional head of the state. Just as in the case of state, it is the governor of the state who has to recommend every financial bill. Similarly, in the case of the Union Cabinet, it is the President of India which has the power. The Union Cabinet anyway will have to decide on every bill. Any bill introduced by the government will normally have to come through the Union Cabinet. The Union Finance Minister again will be a part of the Cabinet itself. Hence, his recommendation will essentially have to be there for every bill introduced by the government. Further, the Speaker is supposed to be a neutral entity. Therefore, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is not likely to recommend or reject any bill. Hence, even by eliminating the option, you can go by option A. Otherwise, even if you remember some school level civics, you would remember it is the President of India who is the nominal head of state as far as our constitution is concerned. Hence, he is the one who will be introducing the bill. One point to remember over here is when we talk about looking at all the options, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, what is the role of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha as far as money bill is concerned? When the government wants to introduce a bill to the parliament, the bill has to be first handed over to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and it is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha who will decide whether that bill is a money bill or is an ordinary bill. That is the only role that the Speaker of the Lok Sabha plays as far as introducing bills is concerned. Okay, so question 103, again this was a question which was easily doable. Question 104, again I would say most of you would have done it. Mexico City, Japan, Tokyo, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and Australia, Canberra, almost everyone will know. Even if you have some confusion about peso and ringgit, you can be sure that Japan has yen as its currency. The Australian dollar again is well known. Peso and ringgit, even if you do not know, even just knowing yen and dollar will be good enough to help you solve this question. So 104 again is a very easy question, should not have been missed. Which of the following has the most profound effect on the Constitution of India? This is again a case where you can easily solve the question purely by applying common sense, even if you do not have exact knowledge about this. Just applying common sense will help you solve this. Which of the following has the most profound impact on the Constitution of India? Constitution of Britain, American Constitution, Constitution of USSR. These will only have marginal impact on Indian Constitution. India as a sovereign state will create its own constitution. It will not be dependent on these. If you remember your school level physics, again, when the Indian Constitution was created, the Constituent Assembly had the committee, the drafting committee had studied constitutions of many different countries, and they had borrowed certain ideas from these places. It was not as though those constitutions directly impacted the Indian Constitution at all. It was the Government of India Act 1935 which was the answer. Again, this was a question which could easily have been done. 106 current affairs. The Mahathir Award was instituted this year itself, and Nelson Mandela was the first person to win this. So this was a pure current affairs based question. 107, I would definitely suggest this was again a question that should have been attempted. And here, even if you do not recall the headquarters of the other of the other organization, the International Court of Justice is something that most of us would be aware of, particularly after the Saddam Hussein trials that took place over there. Further, because from time to time, whenever there are disputes between countries, they go to the International Court of Justice, and we often hear the Hague itself being referred to in place of International Court of Justice. So International Court of Justice can easily be related to the Hague, and the moment you see that, that itself straight away gives you the answer as option B. Ashutosh has asked answer to question 106. The answer is Nelson Mandela. Mahathir Mohamad was the Prime Minister of Malaysia for 22 years, and this award was instituted this year itself, in 2013 itself, by the Mahathir Mohamad Foundation. And the answer here is option A, Nelson Mandela. Which state is the largest producer of rubber in the country? Which of the following states has the smallest coastline? When you talk about question 108, here again common sense can easily be applied. Key, when you talk about production of rubber, rubber is something which is which grows easily in tropical climates. Hence, Karnataka and Sikkim. Sikkim is a very cold state. It is in the north. It is in the northeast. So Sikkim cannot be the answer. Karnataka again is relatively dry. Tamil Nadu again is relatively dry, is not that wet. Kerala therefore has to be the answer. And do remember, when we talk about production of rubber, India is the world's third largest producer of rubber, and 90% of Indian production of rubber comes from Kerala itself. Which of the following states has the smallest coastline? Again, this question can be solved easily on the basis of visualization itself. If you look at the borders of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, they have very large coastlines. Just visualize the Indian map. You will see that West Bengal, the West Bengal border, the West Bengal coastline is very small. The other three are much larger. Therefore, straight away the answer has to be West Bengal. Do remember though that among the options, West Bengal is the correct answer. Overall, Goa is the state of India which has the smallest coastline. Goa has a coastline of just 101 kilometers. So 108, 109, these were again questions which were quite easy, should have been attempted. 110, this requires very precise information. So this could be a tough question. 111, now this is a very interesting question, and all of us would probably remember from time to time reading in the newspaper about various missile tests being conducted from Wheeler Island. Hence, this is something that I suppose most of us would be able to answer. Wheeler Island obviously is the answer here. Wheeler Island is off the coast of Orissa, and it is some 70 kilometers away from Chandipur. Chandipur again has the integrated army test range. That is another test range again in Orissa itself. Chandipur is another place from which some missiles have been test fired by India. Acha, now when we look at the other options, as we discussed, do go through the other options, search for information about the other options on the net. That will also be very useful. If I look at the other options, Barren Island, is there anything special about Barren Island? Barren Island is a part of the Andaman group of islands, and Barren Island has the only confirmed active volcano in South Asia. The first eruption of this volcano was in the year 1787, and the latest eruption was from the period between September 2010 to January 2011. Barren Island is a part of India. It is near the eastern tip of Andaman Islands, and this island has the only confirmed active, only known active volcano in South Asia. So Barren Island, there can be a question purely on this island itself. Similarly, when I look at the other two options, Minicoy Island and Amindivee Island, both of these islands are a part of Lakshadweep, the Union Territory of Lakshadweep. Minicoy Island, the ancient name of this island was Mahiladu, which means woman's island. Mahila meaning woman and Du referring to island in the local language. The current name of this island in the local language though is Maliku. Now, Amindivee Island and Minicoy Island, there is one rare thing about them. Both of these islands are census towns. What is a census town? A census town is a town which does not have any specific municipality of its own, but which, as per the parameters set by that country, is called a town. So in India, the criteria for a census town is that the place should have population greater than 5,000 people, at least 75% of male workers should be involved in industries other than agriculture, and minimum population density should be 400 per square kilometer. On this basis, when you talk about census towns in India, Amindivee Island, Minicoy Island, these two are census towns. Plus, you have Greater Noida in UP. Greater Noida, which is where our HO is located, which is from where we are addressing you right now. Greater Noida is a census town. Begumpur in West Bengal, this again is a census town. These are some well-known census towns of India. Ireland is another country which has census towns. Not many other countries have census towns. The term is census town. I'm just writing it down for your convenience. Okay, I hope it is visible to everyone now. Fine. Which of the following states is the largest producer of tobacco? Many of you may be aware of this. It is Andhra, which is the biggest producer of tobacco in India. Even in the production of tobacco, just as in the case of rubber, India is typically among the top 2 or top 3 producers and exporters of tobacco. China, Brazil, and India, these 3 countries typically make up the top 3 producers. China produces around 39% of the world's tobacco crop. Brazil and India produce roughly comparable amount and also export roughly comparable amount. Depending on fluctuation in production, one year India becomes the second largest producer, the next year Brazil might be the second largest producer. And Andhra accounts for a major portion of tobacco production in India. In fact, the headquarters of the Tobacco Board in India is located in Guntur, Guntur, a town in Andhra itself. Guntur is also well known for its chili production, mirchi. Guntur has the largest market in Asia for red chilies. A few years ago, this market had made the news when there was a massive fire over there, and it was said that nearly 50% of that year's crop of red chilies was destroyed in that fire. Okay, Andhra is also one of the largest producers of mangoes in India. Vijayawada is the town of Andhra, which serves as a major market for mangoes. So these are some important data that you may find about Andhra. If you look at these states, search a bit about them on the net, you will easily be able to find them. Question 113, this I'm sure most of us would have been able to answer. Here you can easily work through the options. Arundhati Roy and the God of Small Things, I'm sure most of you would remember this. Arvind Adiga, the White Tiger, again most of you would probably know this. Jhumpa Lahari and the Namesake. The Namesake has been made into a movie as well. Ken Ghosh has acted in that movie and the movie got good reviews. And of course, Chetan Bhagat and Two States, I'm sure most of us would have known this at least, even if we don't remember anything else. I mean, among the other options for this question. So, oh, sorry. Thanks for correcting me. Saurav Singh has written in, the actor in that movie was Carl Penn, not Ken Ghosh. Sorry, I ended up speaking the wrong name. Thanks, Saurav. Carl Penn has been in the news recently. He has been nominated by Barack Obama for some post. So do read up about that as well. Acha, if you look at this list of books, one interesting thing over here is Arundhati Roy's book, The God of Small Things. This book won the Man Booker Prize in the year 1997. I'm sure a lot of you would have remembered that. Similarly, Arvind Adiga's book, The White Tiger, also won the Man Booker Prize. This book won this prize in the year 2008. It won the 40th Man Booker Prize. If you want to know about other well-known Indians, people of Indian origin who have won this award, well, the first one was V.S. Naipaul, who won this award in the year 1971 for the book In a Free State. Then Salman Rushdie, of course, won this prize in the year 1981 for his book Midnight Children. Arundhati Roy, we have already discussed. Kiran Desai won this book in the year 2006 won this prize in the year 2006 for her book The Inheritance of Loss. Arvind Adiga, of course, won it in 2008, which was also the year when his book The White Tiger was published. So this is about the some of the Indian books, people of Indian origin whose books have won this award, the Man Booker Prize. Do note that the Man Booker Prize was started in the year 1969. At that time, it was known as the Booker Connelly Prize. It was only in 2002 that the Man Group started sponsoring this prize, and from then on, it has been known as the Man Booker Prize. From then on, it has been known as the Man Booker Prize. Now, so far, this prize, the Man Booker Prize, this has been, only those authors are considered for this prize who hail from one of the Commonwealth countries or from Ireland or Zimbabwe. Authors from other countries are not eligible for this award at all so far. From 2014, the Man Booker Prize is going to change its parameters, its criteria for selection. From 2014, authors from all parts of the world will be eligible for that. Okay, so this is it about this particular question and all the related information that you can get. So again, I keep repeating this. When you analyze, go to the net, search for information about every single one of the options that you see. You may gain a lot of useful information from that alone, and that may help you in some other question which may actually appear in your exam. So don't skimp on that. Do apply as much effort as you can there. 114. Now, again, this is a very simple question. Most of us would remember from our school days. Norway is the country which is known as the land of the midnight sun. Option C. 115 might be a complicated question. 116, again, which of the following acts provided for an establishment of an All India Federation for the first time? It was the GOI Act 1935. Again, you would need to have very precise information, so this too can be said to be a difficult question. 117, the right answer would be Rudradaman of the Western Kshatrap dynasty. Again, this would require good knowledge of history, so it may be called a tough question. 118, which of the following banks has become the first private sector lender to launch a branch on wheels? The answer is ICICI Bank. This is a current affairs question. If you follow current affairs, you should be able to answer this question easily. 119, again history, again related to Indian independence. It was Anthony Eden who was not a member of this cabinet commission. Stafford Cripps was very much a member. Patrick Lawrence and A.V. Alexander, these two were also members. Which state has become the first state in India to release an HBI report? It is Madhya Pradesh. This again is a current affairs question. You should have been able to answer this. Still, it may be rated as a slightly difficult question compared to the others that we are selecting so far. When money supply in a market is increased, it results in, this is purely a common sense question. If you follow business news at all, you should be able to identify the answer for this. It will be inflation. Whenever the RBI changes its rates, etc., whenever it reduces some cash reserve ratio or something, the newspapers write about it and why this has been done. So inflation is the answer. When you have more money for the same number of goods, it will lead to inflation. If you have less money for the same number of goods, it will lead to decline in prices. Achha, one question that has come is, what is HDI? HDI is Human Development Index. Who is the managing director of IMF, International Monetary Fund? The right answer is Christine Lagarde. This change happened just a little while back. Dominic Strauss-Kahn was the earlier managing director, and there were allegations against him regarding him sexually harassing and attacking a waitress in a hotel. After this, his position became very unstable and he had to quit. And then Christine Lagarde became the managing director of IMF. Again, this would be a current affairs question, and I think this has made it to the newspapers often. So I would say most of us should have been able to attempt this question. Official mascot of Brazil 2014 FIFA World Cup is Armadillo. I'm sure sports fans among us would have been able to answer this easily. Even for the others, this is a current affairs question. We should have been able to handle this. Still, I would rate this slightly more difficult than some of the other questions that we have selected at first glance. Who was conferred the Murti Devi Award for Vamsa, a poetic recreation of Mahabharata? It is Hariprasad Das who won this award. To probe the Kishtwar communal clashes, this had made it to the news. Still, not many of us may have followed it, but do read up about these current affairs questions. You should be able to attempt. This was a very recent item, hence you should be well prepared for this. So I would say this also was very much a doable question. American woman swimmer, first person to cross Florida Strait from Cuba without any shark aid. 2nd September 2013. Again, very much a current affairs question. Diana Nayar is the answer. Again, a doable question, should have been attempted. Name India's first exclusive defense satellite, plus August 30, 2013. So it is India-centric, again related to current affairs, and first defense satellite, exclusive defense satellite. That again makes it a very memorable piece of news. So you should have been able to answer it. GSAT-7 is the answer. 18th, who has been appointed as the first woman Chief Information Commissioner of the country? Harita, Punita, Kanchan, these are all ladies' names. Deepak Sandhu it would appear to us to be a man's name, but it is Deepak Sandhu who is the answer. It is Miss Deepak Sandhu who has become the first Chief Information Commissioner of the country. Again, this is a current affairs information. So I would say this could have been attempted. These, in the first shot, as you rush through the GK section, these are questions which you should have been able to do purely on the basis of working through the options, on the basis of some common sense, some application of basic things that you would have learned at school, plus current affairs. These are the questions which can be done. As you can see over here, 3 questions, 120 between 4 questions from 125 to 128, then question 123, question 122, that makes it 6 questions so far, 121 again 7, 120, 8 questions there, 118 as well. So 9 questions on this page alone could easily have been attempted. On the next page here, 108, 109, these two could have been easily attempted. 111 to 113 again should have been attempted. That makes it 5 questions here. 114, that makes it 6 questions. Now, moving on to the first page of this section, 102 should have been attempted. 103 could have been attempted. 104 should definitely have been attempted. 105 again could have been attempted purely on the basis of logic. 107, a little bit of, if you follow current affairs regularly, you should have been able to attempt 107 as well. So around 5 questions are visible here as well. So out of the 28 questions, around 19 questions could have been easily attempted. Between 14 to 18, I would say, is a good number of attempts, even for people who have spent very little time preparing on GK. If you do want to prepare for GK for IIFT, the first thing to do is ensure that you are very thorough with current affairs information for the last 1 year. That itself would help you a lot in solving quite a few questions. One question that has come is the level of GK in the test same as that in IIFT? Yes, this mock is on IIFT pattern itself. So in most of the sections, the questions are very much along the lines of what IIFT gives. In fact, even within the sections, the breakup of questions from different topics, different areas has been adjusted to match what had happened in IIFT last year. Okay? Okay, so this is it about the GK section. 15 minutes time and at least around 14 to 15 questions should have been attempted. Now, let us go to the third section. Before going on to RC, let us look at the EU portion. I would always suggest that you should start, when you go to the English section for any test, for any paper, you should always start with the EU portion, not the RC portion. The advantage of this is that, again, you will find many questions in English using, questions on vocab, questions on even grammar, which will be straightforward, which can be done immediately, which can be done quickly. So coming on to section 3 now, if I look at the questions, if I just cursorily glance at the paper, questions 65 and 66 are parajumble questions. This will require some effort to solve. Even if they are very simple, they will require at least a little bit of time to solve. Hence, we can keep it for our second round. There is no need to start with these questions. Questions 67 to 68, they are sentence correction questions. We just have to pick that sentence which is grammatically correct. Now, such questions are often quite simple, but over here, as you can see, the given sentence, each of the sentence is quite long. Hence, it may take me a bit of time, so I may skip it in my first round. I'll do the same thing even with question 68. The sentences are quite long. I will not even bother about it at all. Now comes the interesting part. 69 to 70 vocab questions. I just have to look at it, look at the question, look at the options. Straight away, I'll be able to solve it. Similarly, 71 to 72. Words are given, their meaning is given. We just have to match the following. Even if I do not know the meanings of some of the words, those words whose meanings I know, on that basis, I can work through the options, eliminate the options. I will be able to attempt these questions as well. Hence, 4 questions we have already identified are those that I should be attempting immediately. These 4 vocab questions. Similarly, now we again have grammar-based questions, sentence correction questions, 73 and 74. Here the sentences given are much smaller than what we had in the earlier 2 sentence correction questions. Hence, these 2 must also be attempted. So we have picked out 6 questions already that we should be attempting here. Now we come to 75 and 76, fill in the blanks questions. I don't even have to look at the sentences over here, just look at the options for both of these questions, for both 75 and 76. The options require very basic words. These questions are not going to give me a lot of trouble. Hence, 75 and 76 again are questions that I will attempt. These 8 questions then definitely need to be attempted straight away. 77 and 78, these 2 require the meanings of words, simile, hyperbole. If you know the meanings of these terms, it's very easy to solve this. If you look at the options, again, simile may cause a bit of confusion, but hyperbole, hyper always means excessive, too much of something. On that basis, if you look at the options, I have a million things to do. This is the only thing where you are exaggerating, hence this has to be your answer. D can be marked even as you look at the question. Finally, 79 to 84, these are again vocab questions. These again must be attempted. So out of the 20 questions in the EU, we can easily see that there are 10 questions which are based purely on vocab, plus another 2 fill in the blanks questions, 2 questions on sentence correction. These 14 questions must definitely be attempted. Now we are left with 2 long sentence correction questions, 2 parajumble questions, and 1 question which requires knowledge of the meaning of the word simile, another which requires knowledge of the meaning of the word hyperbole. You may, out of these 6 questions, you may or may not attempt some questions, but at least these 14 that we have selected out of the 20 must be attempted and must be attempted first. Now, let us quickly look at the answers to these questions as well. I'll start from the first question. Parajumble over here, I'll very quickly go through these questions. This also happened when I visited. This also happened straight away implies that it must have occurred earlier on as well. That this over here must refer to some occurrence. What is it that must refers to? Over here, that must has to refer to option 3, which is, has to statement 3, which talks about seasonal, unseasonal rate grain is wrong. As happened this year, it results in some of the grain falling off. So this talks about something happening, and statement 2 then talks about this also happening sometime previously. Hence, 3 and 2 become my mandatory pair. If I now look at the options, A and C both have this, but in C3 begins the whole paragraph, but 4 is not really connected to 2 at all. Straight away then we can leave out option C. A has to be my answer here. Similarly, question 66. Olivier Wismar Picasso, the full name of the person, is used in statement 2. Then 4 talks about Olivier. So 2 has to come before 4. That becomes my first indicator over here. Then I drove her to Pinewood Studios for the final test, and I introduced her to this. So I introduced her to the man who is now her husband. So 5th, 1st, 3rd, that again becomes a pair. You see these 2 connectors only in option C. Hence, option C has to be your answer. Now, question 67 and 68. The sentences here are long, but once you get into those sentences, you will find that you can solve the questions very quickly. Over here, if you see, The decision to award this year's Man Booker Prize is as much to the virtually unknown. To award this is as much a recognition of a new world as proof remains undiminished to the virtually unknown. It is the Booker Prize which should have come immediately before to the virtually unknown. It does not make sense over here at all. The is refers to the decision. This is clearly wrong. Similarly, the decision to award this year in option C, the luminaries, etc., again, it does not make sense at all. D again has the same problem. The decision to award the virtually unknown this for her doorstopper of a novel, this year's Man Booker Prize. Award the Man Booker Prize should have been the proper expression. Hence, B has to be your answer. B is the one which does not have any errors. '68 again, the sentences are quite the four sentences have quite glaring errors. It is option C which has the answer. If anyone has any doubts about these questions, about the ones that we are skipping, you may just type that and we can then discuss the answer. Otherwise, I don't think there is a lot of sense in discussing the answers for these. I'll just discuss the approach. So moving on to the vocab questions now. Byzantine and labyrinthine, both of these refer to something which is very answer for 67. One question has come. Answer for 67 is option B, the second option. Byzantine and labyrinthine, both of these. Labyrinth, many of you would be able to note, labyrinth refers to some kind of puzzle, some maze, something that you are not able to move through very easily. Byzantine again refers to something which is very large, very complicated. Byzantine and labyrinthine therefore are they are complicated. They are synonyms. Tortuous and direct, they are opposites, they are antonyms. Ken and ignorance. Ken refers to our aptitude for something. Ignorance has no relation to this at all. Femme fatale can be said to be a femme fatale and French. Femme fatale refers to a woman who is dangerous, who is rather villainous, etc. It has nothing to do with the French. So D also does not make sense. Hence, you can eliminate options A, C, and D and straight away pick D as your answer. Pacifist and war. Pacifist comes from pacific, that is somebody who loves peace. A pacifist would hate war. Similarly, misandrist, andro refers to man. Misandrist is someone who hates men. So C will be the answer over here. You don't even have to look at the other options. '71 and '72. Bohemian is somebody who is socially unconventional. Pike refers to anger. Serendipity is the fact of something pleasant happening by chance. Even if you do not know the meanings of nebulous or plebeian, these alone would be good enough to solve this question. Simulate is something for 72 to imitate the appearance or character of something. This is something that all of us would know. Okay, Sahil has a question. For question 70, why not option A? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Sahil, an exorcist is when a person is attacked by some ghost, etc. It is the exorcist who drives away the ghost and so protects the person who was attacked by the ghost. You may have heard about the movies Exorcist, The Other Exorcist, etc. So yeah, exorcist is someone who drives away ghosts. But the fact that an exorcist drives away ghosts does not mean that the exorcist necessarily hates ghosts. A pacifist is not somebody who is necessarily going to succeed in driving away war or is going to even try to drive away war. A pacifist is somebody who does not want war, who hates or dislikes war. So for 72, simulate refers to imitating the appearance or character of something. Then chortle, again referring to is a kind of laughter. Asinine is refers to something which is utterly foolish. Stilt refers to a set of posts. set of wooden legs, etc. That may be there. Abyssal may be a difficult word, but if all the others are done, abyssal has to be relating to the depths of the ocean. Abyssal comes from abyss. Acha, another question that has come is iconoclast and God. Subhabrat has asked this question. Why not option D for 70? See, an iconoclast is somebody who attacks God. Again, does not necessarily mean that the person hates God. It is simply somebody who goes against conventional ways, goes against established norms, and therefore attacks God. It does not have anything to do with hatred. Okay, question 73. The mother along with her children have been invited. This is a subject verb agreement question. The mother is the only subject here. It has to be has. The teacher said to the class, each student have, it will be has. Each and every will always take singular forms of the verb. As a rule, every morning Neha went for a morning walk. In the morning, you cannot go for an evening walk, or lunchtime walk, or any such thing. Hence, the word morning is redundant over here. As a rule, every morning Neha went for a walk in the neighborhood park, or as a rule, Neha went for a morning walk in the neighborhood park every day. Both of these would have been correct. In this case, there is an extra morning, that is the error. D has no errors, D is the answer. 74th, my sister had read a new book. These days, it will be my sister has read a new book. These days, it will not be had. Had refers to past perfect. India on Friday launched its. The apostrophe S implies that this stands for it is. This is the abbreviation for it is. The proper possessive pronoun is its without the apostrophe. Hence, B also is incorrect. She is one of those people who has. Those people refers to plural, therefore it will be have and not has. So A, B, C, and are incorrect. That means B has to be the answer. You don't see the need to look at that option. Just mark it as the answer and move on. 75 and 76 are very simple, so I will not discuss this. Unless anyone has doubts about these, then we can look at it. 77, which of the following is a simile? A simile involves a comparison. If you look at the options over here, life is like a box of chocolate. This is the only option where there is a comparison. Hence, B has to be your answer. Based on this, you can straight away reject the other option. Similarly, 78, hyperbole. Hyperbole refers to exaggeration. I have a million things to do. That is the only sentence here, which is exaggeration. Shrishti has a question. Has read a new book these days or is reading a book these days? Has read a new book these days implies that the action is already over and it was finished in the recent past. Whereas is reading a book these days implies that the action is still ongoing. Both will be correct. But had refers to the past, therefore had will not fit in over here. Now going on to the next page. Strange, prosaic, modern, obsolete. Past refers to something which is already old, which is no longer current. That means the term obsolete would be option B would be a synonym for past. It is C, therefore, which will be the antonym. Modern will be the opposite. Extirpate refers to completely dismantling something, destroying something. The opposite will therefore be preserved, to protect something. Annihilate, option C, again is a synonym of extirpate. 81, menagerie. This is a very simple term, very simple word. Option A itself will be the answer. The others are incorrect spellings. Connoisseur, it has two N's and two S's. Plus OI has to be there. Option B, therefore, has to be the answer. Amateur, neophyte, specialist, layman. Amateur and layman, these two terms are quite common. most of us would know the meanings of these two terms. They are very much synonyms. That straight away means ki specialist is the word that that stands out, hence this has to be the answer. Neophyte, if you want to know the exact meaning, is somebody who is a new initiate to something. Neo always refers to new. So somebody who is new to a particular field will again have limited knowledge of that field. Indolent, slothful, languid, all of this refer to lazy, not very active. Industrious refers to hardworking. Industrious has to be the answer here. So industrious is the answer here, specialist is the answer here. Option C for both of these. That's it for the first part of section 3. Now, very quickly looking at section 3, part 2, RC. 4 passages, 4 questions each. When you look at the passages, passage 1 seems quite long, but if you read just the first 2 or 3 sentences, or if you look at this part, before the door, etc., a voice called on within the house, this straight away appears to be an extract from some regular novel. Hence, this is a passage which is likely to be quite simple. Hence, if you just look at the first 2 paragraphs, it will appear to be a passage which can be attempted. Then, when you come to passage 2, Testament to the Greatness of Martin Luther King Jr. Again, it seems to be a straightforward descriptive passage. This passage, therefore, again is not likely to be very complicated. A first glance at the passage will itself be able to reveal that to you. Similarly, passage 3. A year ago, my little 4-year-old came from school eager to tell me some story. Then the story continues. Just looking at the first paragraph itself would straight away indicate that it is a pure descriptive passage. It is again not a passage which is very complicated. On the other hand, when you look at passage 4, no one who trustingly consults and thoroughly questions his own soul, etc., not more incomprehensible than descriptive, circumlocution, laconic and luminous language. In the first paragraph itself, a very cursory glance of just these first 4 or 5 lines will indicate that this passage has something to do with philosophical issues. Hence, it will likely be more complicated than other passages, than the other 3 passages. Hence, passage 4 is one passage that you can choose to keep aside when you first glance at this section, at this portion. The other 3 passages should be attempted. Now, when we talk about exams like IIFT, SNAP, GAT, etc., as your faculty may have discussed in class as well, these exams often give you relatively longer passages as compared to CAT. But the questions are often very direct. For this reason, it also makes a lot of sense to look at the questions as well. The passage may be very complicated, may be relatively complicated, as in the case of passage 4, but some of the questions may be very simple. For example, if I look at question 97 here, the synonym for the word annihilation is. This has nothing to do with the RC pattern at all. This is purely a vocab question. Hence, you should not have missed out on this question. When we say repeatedly, you should devote some time to first looking at all the questions and therefore choosing which question to attempt, which to leave. These are some of the things that may strike you, that will help you when you do this, when you search for questions first. There are some questions which may be sitters. In this passage, the other questions will require reading of the passage, but 97 has nothing to do with the passage. So at least question 97 in this passage should have been attempted. Now, if I move back to passage 3, which talks about feminism and women's image about women. If you look at question 96 straight away talks about which of the following statements can be inferred. There are 3 statements. We have to look at each of those statements. Then we have to look at combinations. None of the above is also one of the options. None of the above is the right answer for this. But then this question would require good understanding of the passage. Hence, maybe question 96 can be said to be a relatively tough question as regards this passage. Question 96 may be kept aside. The other three questions for this passage are quite direct, very simple. Even though the question, why does the author feel that this campaign does more harm than good? This may appear to be a question relating to the author's feeling, the author's judgment or opinion. Hence, it may appear at first glance that this question is inferential in nature. But when you read the passage, the author has very clearly stated that this reduces the powerful goddesses to victims, enforces the idea of women being helpless, and that's the reason she does not like it. So this is also a specific detailed question. This is not really an inferential question. The same is true about the other elements, the other two questions here as well, 93 and 94. These are very direct questions. So these three questions, 93, 94, 95, should have been attempted out of the ones that we have seen so far. Moving on to question passage 2, Martin Luther King Jr. As stated in the passage, before Martin Luther King and his movement, which of the following was not likely to happen in America? Again, there are four options, three of which have been directly mentioned in the passage. It is C, which is not mentioned. This therefore has to be the answer. Again, though, this would require that you go through all of the options and go back to the paragraph 1 to confirm which of them has been mentioned. Hence, this is a complicated question. This again may have been kept aside. 92 and the other two questions on this in this passage again are very direct. Hence, they should have been attempted. The movement happened as a result of centuries of agitation. It is clearly mentioned in the passage. Similarly, for 89, he was a black politician. This is not mentioned in the passage. In fact, if you look at it, King was a preacher who spoke in biblical cadences. This part clearly mentions that Martin Luther King was a preacher, not a politician. Hence, option C will be the right answer. The other three options are clearly mentioned over here in the passage. C is rejected. 90. Martin Luther King was responsible for initiating the movement. No. The passage clearly states that this movement had been going on for 2 centuries. It was not even a new movement at all. I have a dream quote is the most popular line ever said by an American. No, the passage does not say that. It says King's most quoted line. If you look at the last paragraph, King's most quoted line. It does not at all say that this is the most quoted line by an American. So C also will be wrong. Was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in order to order his efforts in trying to bring about equality among the different races of the world? No, the paragraph says, the passage rather says clearly, the defining movement of his even tried to force him into committing suicide after he won the Nobel Peace Prize. The passage does not at all mention why he was given the Nobel Peace Prize. That has not been mentioned. Further, the entire passage has talked about the work that Martin Luther King did in the US. It does not talk about whether he tried to bring in equality between races, equality among the different races of the world. His work was limited to the US. At least the passage only talks about that. Hence, option D also will not be an answer. B is clearly the answer. It is again directly given in the passage itself. The author has repeatedly talked about how America is able to portray itself as the leader of the free world purely because of Martin Luther King and the Black Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Movement. So again, even in this passage, 3 questions, 89, 90 and 92. These 3 were relatively simple, should definitely have been attempted. Now, coming back to passage 1. Passage 1 is very simple. All of the questions here are also very direct. And this is one passage where all 4 questions could have been attempted. So 3 questions from passage 2, 3 from passage 3, and 1 question from passage 4. 7 questions there, and all 4 questions over here. So 11 passages, 11 questions in this part, in the RC portion, could very easily have been attempted. One question that Sahil has is, do we get separate rough sheet in IFT for mind map? Sahil, as far as I'm aware, no, you do not get any such rough sheet. I'm not completely sure about this, but as far as I know, you do not get any rough sheet. But then what you can always do is, you can use your pencil or you can keep a pen and use that to underline portions of the passage. In any paragraph, you will only need to underline a few keywords to get an idea of what that paragraph is focusing on. So maybe just underline, do not write down anything. Writing down anything will anyway take up a bit of time. And when you have a test like this, 128 questions in 120 minutes, time is critical. So don't write down anything on a rough sheet to prepare your mind map. Just underline some of the important words that you find. Ashutosh is asking, how is it possible to do 11 questions in RC in 15 to 20 minutes? See, Ashutosh, as we discussed, the questions that we talked about, these are very direct questions. These are questions which are, the answer to which is given directly in the passage. So you can just search for the answer in the passage. These passages are not at all complicated. Hence, you can simply, these questions are not at all complicated, the passages are not complicated. We had very easily left out passage 4 entirely. We only attempted one question from passage 4. That one question which is not based on any reading of the passage. Question 97, which is purely a vocab question. Which is not at all a question that has anything to do with the passage. Question 97. Similarly, in the other passages, those questions which require a lot of inferential understanding, we have already said, leave out those questions. For example, in passage 3, question 96, even though the passage is quite simple, we said you can leave out question 96 because this requires checking whether each of these 3 statements are correct, are valid as per the passage. So it may be time taking, hence should be left, should be kept aside. Similarly, in passage 2, we again said question 91. These three of these options are directly stated in the 3rd paragraph. But then you may not remember it if you go back to reading through the passage. Hence, it will be better that you leave out this question. So those questions which are time taking should be kept aside. Mansa has a question. Is it advisable here to go through the questions first, then search for the answers in the passage? Yes, Mansa. Once you identify the easy passages for exams like that, IFT, SNAP, etc., when you have longer passages, it is very much advisable that you should first look at a few lines at the beginning of the passage and therefore identify which topic the passage deals with, whether the passage belongs to an area that you are comfortable with, whether the language of the passage is something that you are comfortable with. Then you should also look at the question, see the nature of the question, try to search for the answers to all of the direct questions, leave out the inferential question in your first attempt. After that, if you have some time left at the end of the time that you have mentally decided for that section, then you can read through the passages and attempt the inferential reasoning. But yes, it would be advisable here, go through the questions first, try to identify which passage has more direct questions and attempt those questions. Attempt the direct questions, the easy questions from each of the passages. Do not get stuck in the thinking that I have to read this entire passage and attempt all of the questions here. For these tests, time is critical. Hence, you cannot afford to get stuck on that. Arindam has a question 78, can the answer be A? Just let me go back to question 78. Watching the show was like watching grass grow. No, it is not that much of an exaggeration, hence this cannot be said to be true. If I look at this question, I have a million things to do. That is very clearly an exaggeration. What was like watching grass grow? It certainly was. It certainly is more of an exaggeration. So even if I have to compare these two options, D will clearly be the better answer. D has to be the answer. Also, watching the show was like watching grass grow. This is a comparison. This is not a direct statement at all. So for that reason also, option A would be rejected. Okay, any further questions? Anyone? We just looked at the third and the fourth sections. Ideal time, GK should not have taken you more than 10 to 15 minutes, and you should have been able to attempt around 14 to 15 questions there easily. 14 to 15 questions could have been solved purely on the basis of some common sense, elimination of options plus current affairs. Nothing else was needed for those questions. EU plus RC, in EU, as we discussed, around 14 questions were definitely doable. So if I talk about number of attempts for EU in around 15 minutes, I can easily look at around 14 attempts. I don't even have to look at those 6 questions, which will take more time. RC, we identified 11 questions. Out of these 11, even if I assume we may have some difficulty, at least 8 to 9 questions could easily have been attempted. So the expected marks, if I'm attempting 14 questions here, even after some errors, I can easily expect to get at least around 12 questions correct, which means I should be able to get at least close to 8 to 9 marks in this portion itself. Similarly, out of the 8 to 9 attempts over here, I can expect to get at least 5 to 6 marks from the RC portion, which means this portion itself should give me at least around 14 questions. At least around 13 to 15 marks, let's say 14 on average. GK, similarly, we should be looking at around 14 to 15 attempts at least, and since the marking scheme is here is purely 0.5, we can expect to get at least around 5 to 7 marks from this portion. Overall then, if I look at the total number of marks, 8 from section 1, 8 from section 1 first part, 9 from section 1 part 2, 17 marks there. QA again gives me 29, around 14 marks here. That brings us to 43 and another 5 at least from GK. Overall then, at least around 48 can be easily achievable. If we even consider some leeway, at least around 43 to 44 should easily be achievable in this paper. Any questions? Anyone? Okay, I'll give you my email ID. My email ID is rahul.krishn@careerlauncher.com. If you have any queries, you can just drop me a mail. Okay, so if there are no questions, we will end the session then. Thank you all for joining in. One question that Ashutosh has asked, what is the other missile testing facility you named? Chandipur on sea. That is the other one that we talked about. Can I attempt more from EU and only 2 RC passages? Yes, definitely. Based on your comfort level, you can do that. But if you are attempting only 2 RC passages and attempting more from EU, I would then suggest you should try to attempt all of the questions from EU, try to get 20 attempts there, and then from the 2 RC passages, try to get all of the questions, try to attempt all of the questions. That will ensure, see, you have around 8 attempts here from RC still, and from EU you have around 17-18 attempts at least. That will again ensure that you have, as we see in the current scenario, you will be getting around 23 attempts. If you are focusing more on EU, less on RC, you should ensure that you again have at least around 23 to 25 attempts. That should not change. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in. All the best. We will end the session now.